Throughout history, freethinkers have outraged the religious with their wacky ideas about the virtues of free speech, reason, and of course, eating babies. Now, God is dying, and it's time to dispose of his remains. From the pits of hell, Satan sends two puppets of the imperialist West and the Zionist Jews against God, Islam, and tiny kittens to bring you their propaganda and conspire for a new world order. This is Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment with Ali Rizvi and Armin Navabi.
Welcome everybody to our end of month, our May 2020 end of month Q&A episode of Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment. My name is Ali Rizvi. With me is Armin Navabi. Armin, I'm not going to ask you how you are, but this is the time of the month. This is that time of the month when you guys can ask us about anything you want to. Life, love, religion, politics, happiness, anything, relationships, whatever the hell you want to. Because we're experts on everything, as you know. Well, everybody is nowadays. So anyway, there is a lot to talk about. It has been, I think this is like the third month of quarantine going for a lot of us. And there's a lot of stuff happening and things.
Nobody cares about it anymore. Like it's been.
We've gone on to the next news cycle. Coronavirus.
Yeah.
Now you can see the spike. This is going to be the second wave.
The second wave is not going to get as much as attention.
Yeah. So anyway, the first question you said was the hair thing, right? From John Smith. John Smith is asking, question to both of you, what is your hair care routine? Sorry for gay question.
Yeah, actually, I have a question for why that's a gay question.
Well, it's just, I think he may be an older gentleman when I grew up, when men used to take a lot of care of their hair.
I mean, I don't have a hair care routine. Do you have a hair care routine?
A routine?
Yeah.
I mean,
can two actions be described as a routine?
Two actions? What's your two actions? I'm really curious now.
I wash my hair and I put hair conditioner in my hair. That's it. And I also get a haircut once every 2 weeks. Is that a routine?
Oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, that could be a routine. That's a routine. So okay. I'll tell you something that's interesting about my hair care routine is that I still have some hair. I have a bald spot up here. I'm 45 years old, so some of that goes with the whole thing, with the age thing. But when I was in my 20s, my younger brothers, both of them, started losing their hair, so they became prematurely like.
By the way, before we get into too much of this, for people that are listening to the podcast version of this, we are going to get into like the current chaotic riots and police violence or whatever.
Riots, yes, protests, mostly protests and a little bit of
riots. Okay, but this is good. This is good. We're gonna have a major disagreements here. So we got on this topic, and you guys gonna see us shouting at each other soon. So don't let this whole hair care routine discussion think like we're gonna get into it. But go on,
Armin. But the more important issue right now, is the hair care routine. So I found this out. This is for a lot of you people. Like, I don't know if there's any association. It's totally anecdotal. My younger brother's losing hair. I was also losing hair. So my hair would fall out in the shower and everything. So I stopped using conditioner. I just used shampoo. And to this day, I only use shampoo and not conditioner. I still have the most hair among all the siblings and even some of the cousins of my family. I don't know if it's
Anecdotal evidence.
Well, and it stopped falling out. So it used to fall out a lot when I used conditioner. Sometimes I tried conditioner a few times, and then it would fall out again. So I just stopped using it. I just used shampoo, and it worked out.
So Ali, Susanna is saying happy birthday again.
Thank you, Susanna. Thank you for mentioning it. I usually take it off my Facebook because one thing I don't like about social media is people get a notification about your birthday and then just send you, all these people you don't know send you birthday wishes. But if there is somebody who knows and they find out, then it means a lot.
Can I admit something?
Yeah.
I sent you a personal message saying happy birthday, right?
You did.
But but it seemed like I was a good friend and I remember your birthday and stuff.
No, but you'll find it out from somewhere as long as it's not on fucking Facebook. And you don't get a notification.
Susanna messaged me about it.
Oh,
That
yeah.
it's your birthday, right? So I'm just telling you, like, Susanna is apparently better friend than I am. Anyways,
Well,
I
Susanna,
still
I
hear
love you.
myself, Ali, and it's incredibly annoying. Can you fix that somehow?
I don't know how to fix it. I'll tell you what. Let me switch over to my 5G connection. Let's see if that fixes it. Or the other. Oh, no, the non 5G. So hold on. Stay right there. I'll be back.
Don't worry. Mars is also saying happy birthday, Ali. By the way, guys, I'm gonna destroy Ali today on this whole riot stuff. He's going to be humiliated in front of all you.
What? Oh, no. What did you say about me when I was gone?
Nothing.
Okay. Anyway.
Right.
So, yeah. So, Susanna, thank you very much. I don't know what he said about me. Okay. Did you say something or no?
No.
What was who was humiliated? What are you talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about. Happy birthday. That's what I would say. All right.
Thank you, Mars. Thank you, everybody. Okay, let's get off my birthday now. Everybody has a birthday. It's been 45 of them. Right. So yeah. Questions about anything? Someone saying anything, and I said, yeah, absolutely anything. Mars is saying he's in a state of emergency in the town that you're in right now, and yes, that's unfortunately the case for a lot of major cities in the U.S. And we'll probably get into this. John Smith saying, since you fight against the ideas in Islam, what do you think of Muslim converts, but more specifically, Mona Haider's husband asking because I like her music and she seems like a sweet girl? Who's Mona Haider? Do you know? John, who's Mona Haider? Let us know who that is.
I'm gonna direct. I'm sending on the live chat. I'm sending a comment telling people to ask about the riots and racism. I'm trying to direct our live chat to go towards a certain.
Armin, we said anything and everything, so it's okay. We'll get to that. I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. I'm just guiding them. They don't have to ask. I'm just
okay.
Okay.
Can you highlight the Stony Lonesome comment, please?
What's the time?
10:32. Please highlight that.
10:32.
Are you still hearing the echo?
No.
Okay, good. 10:32. Stony Lonesome.
Okay.
Thank you. It says, Ali Rizvi, you are my Allah and I love you. I love you too. That's great.
You made me look for this comment?
Yes, and now that's the end of this show. We're done.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. What's next? Next question. Come on.
So Razib is asking, why are you not, Ali, why are you not at a protest, bruh? And he's saying Ali R is a protest hawk. I'm not a protest hawk generally. I don't think protests overall in most cases do much, physically going out and protesting, especially in the social media age. But I do, I think the protests that are going on right now are terribly important. They're very important. Yeah, and I am, for the purposes of this,
because they're unjustified. Who the hell? Like, I don't really understand these protests. Like, what are they protesting against? Everybody was against the cop that killed what's his name? Lloyd? What's his name?
George Floyd. Okay, that's great. A great start. You don't even remember the name of the guy.
Yeah, I didn't remember your birthday either. Susanna had to remind me. So what does that mean? So, okay. Yeah. No, but so can somebody explain to me why the protests, like before these protests? I mean, not protests, riots.
Well, I'll explain.
Before the riots, everybody was like, even 4chan was against the police, right? Even the racist people that I was following, not the people that get accused of racism, the actual racist people were looking at the video and were like, holy shit, what the fuck is this cop is doing? This cop should get arrested. Nobody was like on the side of the cop. So everybody was like, yeah, this guy should lose his job. He should get arrested. Okay. He should get charged. Who are you?
Here's why. There is an epidemic of cops killing unarmed black men disproportionately. Okay, no, and the names.
That's not true.
Yeah, that includes. Yes, there is. There is that Tamir Rice was just a kid, and the same thing happened. Philando Castile was shot in the back, just with his arms out, not armed, nothing. There are people who have not even. There's loads of names. You can look it up. There's data. There's data on the number. Okay, so it's not about. It's not
You're
about.
using anecdotes now.
No, I'm not.
Aren't you like a researcher?
No, I'm not a researcher. First of all, you
Wait,
got it
isn't
wrong.
that your job?
Huh? No, I'm not. I'm in medical communications. I'm the
You're
medical
a medical
director.
communication, but don't you do like research
Of course,
for?
I deal with a lot of research, but
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, when it comes to this, right, there are about 1,000 out of okay, let's put it this way: out of 1,000 events like this where the police kill like unarmed people, about 35%, 35% of them are charged, and even an even smaller number is convicted. Okay, so this is an epidemic. This is something that the Black community has been feeling for a very long time. I would direct people to the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar article that he wrote in the LA Times. It's been happening. He talks about it, and this is not about, there's a lot of crap happening. Okay, there's assholes everywhere. I am not. I've said it many times. Looting is wrong. I don't like Antifa. Antifa, I think, they are a domestic terror group. Okay.
Okay,
Black
let's be
Lives
fair.
Matter
So
is
Antifa
completely
is
different
not.
than Antifa. Completely
I'm going
different
to
than
actually
Antifa.
be fair to Antifa. Antifa is not one thing. It really depends on the chapter.
It's decentralized. Yes, I know. I understand.
Like it really depends on the group. Like there's so many different Antifa groups, and some of them seem to be outright terrorists, and some of them seem to be not.
Yeah.
Pretty
Okay,
mellow.
but to do this, I want to actually set the stage by agreeing with some of the things that I think, some of the things that Armin.
Can I say some? Can I?
Wait,
no, before you do that.
Hold on. No. I need to set the stage on the things that we agree on. First of all, I would say one thing: if you have the comment up, the data shows that the police killings of Black men is going down. I don't know what the specific data is, but I do believe that the police killings of Black men, unarmed Black men, innocent Black men.
Can I? No. Before I need to say something. You said a few words. I need to say something.
Yeah, but I'm not finished.
No. Before you set the stage, I need to set the stage for you setting the stage. Is that what you have to show right now? Okay, by setting the stage, is not that okay. So first of all, the basics for people who don't know the basics. The basics is like okay. If somebody comes and says, well, white people are killed more by cops than Black people, that is technically true, but that's not relevant because there's more white people. Of course, there's more white people going to be killed more by Black people than white people. So that is not a valid point to make. Okay, what you have to show, what people show is like, okay, no, Black people, if you adjust per capita, if you adjust based on population, Black people are being killed more by cops than white people, and that is true. However, what you also have to show is, what you also need to show is like, well, Black people also commit more crimes if you adjust per capita, much, much higher than white people do in the United States. I mean, this might sound racist, but it's just the data, okay? It's just the data. Black people commit, by a huge margin, like it's crazy higher. Black people commit more crimes than white people in the United States, right? So the killing of Black people by the cops, even if when you adjust per capita, it is higher than the killing of white people once you adjust per capita. But is it proportional to the higher crimes that they're committing or not? And just to be fair, even if it's proportional, right? So you're like, okay, they're getting killed more, they're getting shot more and killed more, well, because they're committing more crimes. However, something else that you need to show, and as far as I know, nobody has been able to show it, and that would make a case for you, right, on your side, is that maybe even if it is proportional, that maybe that's not the cause. You know what I mean? So maybe correlation is not causation. So, and this is very hard to show, but what we have seen,
Go ahead.
What?
No, I'm saying that it's not like so. Finish it. Hurry up.
No, actually, I'm gonna leave this gem for later.
Okay, so here's the thing. Yes, Black people are.
I need to respond to this. Sorry. Not in saying, Armin, Black folks are also more poverty-stricken in the United States, which leads to more crime. So you need to factor that in. Yes, I need to factor that in as well. I didn't say, right now, I didn't say anything about. Okay, so when I say Black people are committing more crimes, I'm not like claiming that this is like something genetics or something. This is socioeconomics. Yeah, whatever the results, whatever the causes are. Okay, whatever the causes are, and the causes need to be addressed. The police violence, the police killing of Black people if it is proportional and in response to the higher crime, then you cannot claim that there's racism happening here if it is in response to the higher crimes. Saying that is not denying the socioeconomic conditions that might cause Black people to do more crimes.
Right.
It's not denying that. Go on.
Okay, so the thing is, police officers are human beings, first of all. Okay, human beings are exposed to this. They're exposed to more Black people committing crimes. Okay, they're called to more of those scenes, right? And they do develop a stereotype. This person's Black; he's more likely to commit a crime. If you're walking, a lot of people will say, a lot of people who would not normally think that they're racist, they're walking in an alley and there's a Black man coming by, they'll be a lot more scared than if there was a white man coming by. So those things are true. And a lot of those things are their fears. But here's the thing. When you look at what crimes are committed, not all crimes are the same. I'll give you an example. This guy, right, who was killed, George Floyd, he was in a store and he pulled out a $20 bill. He was going to pay with a $20 bill. The bill turned out to be counterfeit. Nobody knows whether he knew it was counterfeit or whether it was not. They called the police. He was sitting in his car. The store owner called the police. Are you there? Yeah. They sat in the car. The cops came in. They pulled out a gun and pointed it at him. Now, if I was a white guy and I was sitting in a car and I had a $20 counterfeit bill, the police would come up and they would not pull a gun at me. They wouldn't. Okay, I've ridden around with Black physicians. Sure. No, some of this is not. I'm talking right now about an anecdotal experience, but what I'm talking about in terms of crimes is not anecdotal. Okay, the kind of crimes that they do, like for instance, what Narn was saying right now about the socioeconomic status. Yes, people who are of lower socioeconomic status tend to have more petty crime, like picking pockets, like stealing a milk bottle from a grocery store because they have a kid they can't feed, they don't have money, things like that. Those kinds of things happen. When you have really rich people, the kind of people who commit huge crimes, like this is the idea. You steal $5, they're going to pin you to the ground and put you in handcuffs. You steal 40 million bucks and they'll come in and say, sir, we have to arrest you, and then wheel you off like they did to Bernie Madoff in a suit and tie. And like,
what's your evidence?
Because it happened.
This is no shit. Happened. Everything happens. Okay,
Armin, no,
hold on. Listen, I need to respond to this. I need to respond to this actually because what you're
you
saying.
Asked me a you said, "What's your evidence?" Okay,
that's not evidence. That's anecdotal. Because I've experienced racism as well. Okay, and white people experience racism against them as well. Everybody, like every community, is experiencing racism.
There is no comparison.
I agree. There's more racism against white people right now, and I have evidence for it.
No, we have talked about that.
I have evidence for it. Can I respond to your anecdote with evidence? Okay.
Sure.
Because what I assumed before looking at this was like, this is actually impossible to figure out. It seemed like impossible to figure out because it's so complicated. And to actually figure this out, I thought, that to create a controlled environment to actually measure this is almost impossible, right? And there's so many factors going on that it's really going to be hard to isolate this and actually see if there is prejudice going on against Black people here or not, right? But apparently somebody did that. So look at this research. What is this? The research is by Lois James, Stefan M. James, and Brian J. Villa, right? So apparently this is a good study that has been cited many times, and the study also admits its own limitations and everything like that. So they came up with a controlled environment, and they had this whole exercise with the cops, in an environment where they were doing shooting targets and practices, and they had, I think, hired actors and stuff like that. And so what it shows, like, actually this is in response to what Narn is saying. Okay, I can send you this research if you want to look at it. Actually, for people in the live chat, if they want to look this up, let me find the name of the research. The name of the research is, "Are cops more hesitant to shoot Black than white suspects?" Okay, so for example, Narn in the live chat is saying it's also clear that a lot of U.S. cops are very trigger happy, and more so when Black folks are involved. Well, this study actually shows exactly the opposite, because what happened is that the reaction time for when the suspects, when they were shooting, when they decided to shoot, like how many seconds it took for the cops to actually shoot. When the suspects were white, it was an average of 1.09 seconds, and when they were black, it was 1.32 seconds. So this shows that the cops were much more trigger happy with the white suspects. Okay, and the same study also shows that when it comes to error, the error rates in shooting unarmed suspects. So error means like actually there were some innocents that they weren't supposed to shoot and they shot by error. So for white people, it was 14%. And for black people, it was 1%. So in total of 54 whites were shot by mistake and 2 blacks were shot by mistake in this test. So the error rate for white people is 14 times higher than the black people, right? And if you want to like maybe come up with reasons why this is happening, some people, I think Susanna came up with this. I don't know if it was her theory or someone else's theory. Maybe it's because, wait, let me actually read what she said. I don't know if I should read what she said. But it might be because like they're more afraid of the negative backlash or losing their job or suspension. But there does seem to be a bias existing based on this research, okay? And again, every research might be wrong. Every research has its limitation. But this is the best thing we have right now to a controlled environment, right? So even if you come up with your conclusion, there's a chance that your conclusion is wrong. So taking all that into an account, it does seem, based on this research, it does seem to be there to be a bias, and the bias seems to be against the white people. So but again,
so
this doesn't deny your anecdote because I don't see.
Well, forget about the anecdote. I'll give you the stats, but I'm not just talking about anecdotes. This is the thing. You're getting into this whole sort of, okay, provide the evidence type thing. I'm giving you the evidence. So what you've done is you've taken one study that shows one thing, right? And this is an outlier. Okay, by and large, all of the other data, I'll show you. If you want me to share my screen, I can, but well, people are listening on audio won't know. Men of color more likely to be killed by police. Okay, so this was done in 2016. Okay, African American, right, are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police than white people.
Yeah, that doesn't. I didn't deny that.
No, I know. To be killed by police than white people. Okay, for the women, it's a lot less. The second is Native Americans. The third is Latino, and then after that, it's white, and then after that, it's Asians. So the Asians are actually, when it comes to like white preference for killing, the Asians still win out over everybody else. Right. So this is a study of 1,093 people. It was done in 2016. Okay, so by total,
nobody is denying the fact. No, I mean, neither of us is denying that black people are more likely to be killed. What you need to be showing is that in response to them being called on more because of the crime rates, right? And the only way you could measure that is in a controlled environment. And I didn't think that was possible until I saw the study that actually did create a controlled environment.
Okay, but you're looking at one data point.
One data point. This is actually one day. You're looking at one. You're looking at anecdotes.
I'll tell you more data points. Rates of incarceration.
Research data is not one data point. Research is not one data point.
Rates of incarceration for black people, because you're talking about how there's all these black people commit more crimes. A lot of the reasons that black people commit more crimes, yes, they do commit more crimes because of the socioeconomic status.
Yeah, of course.
They're also incarcerated more for the same crime.
Yes, of course.
And you know this. This is stats that have been around everywhere, and everybody knows about it.
No, it really depends on the crime. No. It really does depend on the crime. Some crimes, if you focus on certain crimes, sometimes black people are getting arrested more for the same crimes. But if you focus on a different crime,
Armin,
there are some other, like sometimes Hispanics are being arrested more for the same crime. Yeah, sometimes white people are being arrested for the same crime.
Overall, if you look at crime activity for the same crime in general, right, black people get much stronger sentences than white people. This is because for decades.
But this is
studies for that
because because their communities are being over policed more. over police, or police more in general, because their communities commit more crimes.
Right.
So here's
now
how
you're in a cause and effect loop.
I'm not saying this is okay, by the way. I'm just explaining why this is happening. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why that's happening is because when you have more crimes in a community, then you police your communities more, and when you police those communities more, for the same crimes, they're going to get more arrested more because they're going to get found more often. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, they're going to found because they're being policed.
They're going to get found more often because they're getting policed more often because their communities are committing more crimes. So it's like a cycle.
Now you brought up another data point. So what you're saying?
I'm not excusing this, by the way. I'm just saying this is how. So this is not a result of racism.
So that naturally means that white people are much more likely to get away with committing crimes than black people because they're not policed.
Yeah, but this is in response to their
committing
more crimes.
Is that a logical follow to that? Yeah, that white people are much more likely to get away with crimes because they're not policed as much. If you have a white, so there's others. Yeah. Okay. So another thing
also, let me actually tell you something that you will agree with. No, you're gonna agree with this. You're gonna agree with this, and this will cause black communities black fathers to be separated from their children more often, black people to lose their jobs more often, and this will have a cycle of poverty that will cause more, in black communities, because of this poverty, because will lead to more crimes down the road, and because more black kids are going to be raised without their fathers, that's also going to result into more crimes down the road. I think that's the conclusions, and I think you agree with that, and I agree with that. But again, this is all the problem that needs to be addressed. The socioeconomic conditions need to be addressed. The over-policing needs to be addressed. I agree with all of that. But again, none of this shows that this is because of racism. None of this shows that, the cops are black guy, I'm going to shoot you because you're black.
The hand-selected things that you've shown show that it doesn't have to do with racism. But there are studies.
And again, this is not denying that there are racist cops. Okay, we're just talking about overall trends, and I'm not denying. Okay, so there are, I'm sure, shit ton of examples of racist cops, but we're looking at data rather than anecdotes. Okay, so the problem, I mean, if there is a racist problem, it seems to be the other way. Go on.
Right, I know this is all very, very pedantic. There is the data element, and a lot of this stuff cannot be measured. It cannot be measured, right?
So you don't know.
Well, no, you can't. You can't look into the mind of somebody and see what their intention is when they're killing somebody. You can't objectively measure.
Right, so you don't know.
Conclusion. Huh?
So you don't know.
But you do know. Okay, so you do know. You can't.
You don't have data, so you don't know.
You can't know.
You don't have data, but you know.
So I'll tell you the data that you do have. Okay, the data that you do have is that you find that many of these people, many of the cops, okay, even cops who are profiling certain people, they profile black people more, and they do that because they're influenced by the higher crime rate. They're thinking, okay, this person's black, he's more likely to commit a crime. Black cops have this internalized sort of bias towards race. Black cops have the internalized bias, and black people are also more likely to profile other black people.
Wait, sorry, say that again. Black cops have internalized bias towards race?
Yes, black cops also have internalized bias towards black suspects, and
because they see that not because they're racist, but because they can see that the black people are committing most of the crimes. They're responding to the reality that they're dealing with. And even the black cops can see the reality that they're dealing with.
Right, and that is called stereotyping. That is by definition.
Yeah, but stereotyping based on data, based on what they see, what's happening on the ground.
Well, but listen,
not based on
this is the whole idea about all of us, since we're Muslim, we have Muslim names. People think, okay, these guys are more likely to be terrorists. So it's one thing.
I mean, technically, they're right. I'm more likely to be a terrorist than my wife.
You can't. Okay, look. You can't apply bell curve statistics. You can't apply overall general population statistics, demographic statistics to individuals. You should not. This is a part of police training. You're not supposed to do that.
I agree that that's okay. So
now,
I know that. first of all, you said the police are human. Okay, the police are human, and they're saying like they're responding to the trends and patterns that they're saying. Okay, no amount of training can make you ignore the patterns and the reality that you're saying.
And I'm sorry, like I
they
don't.
are making a mistake. The thing is that it's not because of hatred towards black people or racism against black people. It's just them responding to, like, even if you think that's the wrong policy and they need to be trained even more not to react that way, you cannot blame that on their racism. You know what I mean? They're saying that they're noticing a trend and they're responding accordingly.
Okay, so I'm indulging you, but I want to make a broader point that I wanted to make earlier. But like,
by the way, just to let you know, I'm highlighting. See how fair I am. I'm highlighting the people that are agreeing with you, which is right now most of the live chat.
Because I'm objectively what I'm saying is correct. Okay, so here's another thing I'm going to say. I'm going to actually challenge your premise about data overall. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to say something that'll make you very happy, and I agree. We both agree on something, and I'm going to say this to everybody that I agree with Armin. That
there we go. Somebody's agreeing with me. Okay.
The U.S. and Canada are probably the least racist places in the world. They're the least racist.
And Western Europe.
Well,
except France.
Western Europe, not as much.
Okay, as North America, Canada, and United States are the least.
Western Europe is still nation states. The U.S. and Canada are the only countries where the original natives are just kind of the smallest populations, and they're on reservations and things like that. The vast majority of the countries were made by immigrants who came in. They are just naturally, because of that, they tend to be diverse ethnically. They tend to be diverse culturally and linguistically and everything like that. Okay, so the U.S. and Canada are the least racist. Now, when Rodney King was beat up,
you just lost all the people that were supporting you, by the way, in the live chat by saying that. I'm just kidding. No.
At least because I know.
No, you cannot do this, Ali, because we need people to come to our show to be like, oh, Armin is the fucking far right racist, but Ali is at least Ali is on our side, so that's why they come to our show. But now by saying that we lost everybody. Now we don't have anybody.
The idea that this idea that in this kind of situation, data is God and all that matters is data, and that's the only thing.
Data is not God, but data is the best we have.
No, we don't. So here's
what do we have better than data?
That's what I'm going to challenge you on. Okay, just wait. Okay. These are the good stuff. So it's the least racist. I know how Arabs treat Pakistanis and Indians and black people. I know they pack them like sardines. I've been to those places. I've seen them and all that. I know Pakistan is very, very racist. All of this stuff, that's terrible. Okay, in the U.S., the racism thing is more transparent. Now, in the early 90s, right, late 80s, there was a lot of people talking about police brutality. One of my favorite bands at that time, I was really into NWA, Fuck the Police. Ice-T had a song called Cop Killer, which was amazing. It was about, how black people should go out and kill cops. I absolutely loved it. He still has a version of it called Body.
Guys, let's just be clear before we lose everybody. Ali is not for violence.
Oh, no, it's music. It's art. Now, it's art in the sense that there were people who came from Ice-T, who plays a cop on TV, by the way, so clearly he's not seriously about it. But when you create art, he's talking about the frustration of people who felt the same way, like, I just want to kill all the cops. And he did it, and it was raw, and it was real, and I love that song, and a lot of people did. All right, so that's the time.
You like songs that promote violence? But go ahead.
Absolutely. Eminem's Kim, where he talks about, like, when the whole song is about him murdering his wife.
All right. Go on. What's your
it's a classic song. Art is different. Art it's just about honesty, and it's not crime. It's just expressing how you feel. Anyway, I don't want to get on a tangent. So when the Rodney King beating happened, Rodney King, right, at that time, for those of you who don't know, the early 90s, Rodney King was a black man, and he was beat brutally by 4 cops, okay, for some sort of like small petty crime. And someone happened to be there with this big VHS camera, whatever they had in those days. There were no cell phones, and they filmed it. And it went over all the networks, and people were shocked. They're like, oh my God, look at this. This is insane. How could these cops do this? All the white people were shocked. And the black people were just sitting there. Like, we've been rapping about this. We've been singing about this for decades. Now, that's the first time there was an actual light on what was going on with the police brutality with black people. They've been talking about it for a long time.
What is your point right now? I don't get it.
I'm getting to it. Now what's happening is, and believe me, listen, everybody's listening to this. They're completely following. Don't worry about it. Just listen.
Oh my God.
So now what happens now is that you probably have a lot less of that. You have a lot less of the police brutality, people beating up cops. Everybody has a cell phone, so you see it a lot more, and you know that it's still happening. Okay?
You see it when the victim is black,
right?
But you don't see it when the victim is white.
Right. Now,
which is
what
racist,
are we saying?
Which is racist.
We're saying that this happened a lot more back then, but nobody found out about it. And at that point, if you said, "Show me the data," the black people would be like, "Dude, I can't show you the data because it happens undercover. We don't have documentation. They take our stuff away. We don't have cell phones. We don't have anything. All you have is, what our collective experience, what we've believed." It was happening. It was real at that time. There was no data to support it. Now that there's data to support it, and by the way, people still get away with it a lot. Okay. Yeah, at that time. There's every reason to think that it was happening way more in the 80s.
Okay, come on, man. Just taking your story.
Yeah, so this whole thing that if you don't have data, it's like, white people have it much worse than, if they do, if you're saying that they're more likely to be killed by cops, which is not true, then if somebody's saying that.
Okay, you said all of this wrong. To make an anti-intellectual argument.
I did not. I made
an argument against
anti-intellectual. It's a
you're making it like
argument.
we shouldn't wait for the data because people with that actual research might be right and we might be wrong. So we should just take actions without actually having the scientific information to take a position. Is that what you're saying? Because that sounds what you're saying.
Anti-intellectual would be saying that, okay, we have to look at the data, and if it's not in the data, we can't assume it's real. Right, but the intellectual argument would be that when it comes to human behavior, especially human behavior that is covered up. Hold on. With human behavior from, for instance, police cops who want to hide what they're doing from the data, from the studies, and everything's happening undercover, right? Like this whole thing of sexual harassment of women, all these things. There's no data on this stuff that you can accurately rely on to give you the complete picture. You can get clues from it. You can't get the complete picture because it is not out in the open. I can study the effects of diabetes on the kidneys of black people versus white people because I can get that data very easily. Very easily.
Right. So you completely misunderstand. Okay, so first of all,
trying to cover it up.
Yeah, okay. So here's the problem, right? So
I
first
hope
of all,
the audience gets my point.
Well, you first have to make your point for our audience to get it. But here's the thing. No. Okay, shut up now. My turn. Here's the thing. First of all, you already have data, okay, to show that racism against black people exists. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to wait to get data to see how widespread it is, even if it's bigger problem than privileges or anti-white racism. You don't need to wait for that to realize this is a problem that needs to be addressed. So if you think that I'm saying okay, so data, for example, right now shows that the cops have a bias against white people rather than against black people on average. But this doesn't mean that some cops do not have a bias against black people, which is going to make a lot of innocent black people suffer, right? That exists. And you not knowing which one is more widespread does not stop you from addressing a problem that exists, right? For example, let's say we know there are women that are being sexually abused and they can't say anything about it, right? And we know that's a problem. We don't need to wait for data to see how widespread this is, or maybe some people are lying about it, some people are not lying about it. What's the ratio? The fact that this problem exists is enough for us to address it. Okay? So you're saying we need to address it even if we don't have any data. I'm not arguing against that. Of course we need to address it because we have seen the problem exists even without the data to show how widespread it is or which side is getting more of a bias, right? But so I agree with you that we could address it without waiting for the data. But if you go farther than that, if you go beyond just addressing it, racism against black people exists. Okay, yes, I agree. We need to address that. We don't need to wait for any data. We know this exists. We need to address it. But if you go past that and be like, oh, black people are being disproportionately targeted and killed, and like, okay, now you're making a claim that
it's supported by
you
data.
don't have any evidence for now, or you say like, oh, okay, so like, look, we need to have riots or something, or we need to find racist cops, we need to train them more, we need to every single black person being killed all of a sudden gets a lot of reaction, and all of a sudden the cops are like, fuck, they become racist against white people because they're just scared of arresting black people because they don't know but the reaction is like, okay, now you're not addressing a problem. Now you are creating a problem, and the problem that you're creating is based on conclusions without any data to support it. All right. So what you were saying, I agree with, like, oh, black racism against black people exists and we need to address it. We don't need data for that because we can see that it exists. Yes, I agree with that. But the further escalation of it by claims that cannot be proven or by claims that haven't been proven, then that is unjustified. And that's part of these protests. Protests and these riots, to be more accurate, are in response to claims and beliefs that are not accurate.
No, they're not in response to that. These riots and protests, they are in response. There are an emotional response to a frustration that has been rampant, okay, among black people, and actually a lot more than just black people for a very long time, right? Of the way the black people were treated. I'm telling you that here's the limitations of data when it comes to these things. I'm going to ask you one thing.
Wait, say that again. Sorry, I was reading.
I'm going to ask you. I'm going to make another point about the limitation of data. We had a guest previously. He was talking about how Sweden is the rape capital of the world. So I'll tell you something. Sweden.
Can we not go to? Can we stay on topic?
No. I want to. Listen, we're talking about the data thing. Sweden has more rapes. It has more
because they reported more. Because it's just like because there are more things that are categorized as rape, and more people feel safe to report rape.
Right. So there's more rape cases reported in Sweden. I'm going to say there's more rape cases in Sweden, okay, than there are in Saudi Arabia and India combined. True or false?
Yeah, because they feel. Yeah. Well, no. Oh no, but there are more rape reports, not more rape cases. Reports.
Absolutely.
But not more rape cases.
Yes. Okay. Why? And why is that? You know that the reason is obvious because it's not. Women are disenfranchised systemically disenfranchised in Saudi Arabia.
I know what your point is, and I already have.
I want to articulate it because this is a podcast. I want to say it. So in Saudi Arabia and India, women are disproportionately kept down, and we don't hear from them as often. Okay, the same is true. The same is true for Black people in the U.S. at a time like the 1990s, late 1980s, 1990s, and before that. When the Rodney King was like, oh my God, this is a beating, there were hundreds of those things happening, okay? And yes, that's an assumption. There's no data to show. There are probably hundreds of those things, way more than happening right now. And if someone asks you for the data, they'd say, hey, this is the only case I've seen. Mm-hmm. Do you know why one of the biggest reasons that O.J. Simpson got let off, even though he was probably guilty?
I know what your point. Tell me okay, so your point is that, okay, so your point is that just because we don't have data, that doesn't mean something is not happening, right?
Not only that it's not happening, but data alone cannot be relied upon when there is an institutional cover-up of things like
Can I respond to this? Yes, today, maybe. Okay, so you're saying just because there's no data on something, that doesn't mean it's not happening, especially when there seems to be a cover-up of data. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. But when you don't have data, the position should not be that you cannot be like, okay, therefore this is the position. This is happening.
I'm not saying
when you hold what the hell? Come on, man. All right. I went Persian for a second. All right, so the position that you have should be that, oh, we don't know because we don't have data. You cannot be like, oh, we don't have data, and therefore this is my conclusion. I mean, this is the basic stuff. We have been arguing this against God. Hold on. This is the thing that we've been telling God people forever. People are like, oh, can you prove to me that there is no God? Like, oh, you can't, therefore God is real. You're saying we don't have data, so this is my conclusion. Like, whatever I agree that not having data, and even when we have data, I will go beyond what you're saying, okay? Even when we have data, that doesn't mean this is like a revelation from God and now we know what everything is and now everything is resolved. Because if you actually read the research, there's limit. I mean, you know this. I'm not telling you. I'm telling.
No, everybody knows this. I agree with your point, and everybody agrees.
Yeah,
with that.
even when you have data, the data have limitations. There's biases. Yes, there could be like, and guess who admits that? Actually, the people who publish the research. There's always a section that shows a limitation. So even when you have data, you don't know if this is actually true. You could just be more. You could be like, this is now more likely, but you can never be certain. However, that's the best we have.
Okay.
That's the best we have. Give me an alternative. Give me a better alternative than acting based on data.
Okay.
There is no better alternative.
No, there is.
What?
There is a better alternative in the absence of data. In this case, what we have is we have a clear absence or deficiency of data. I wouldn't say absence completely.
Wait,
we have a few clues on what happened.
That's not an absence of data. I thought we have an absence.
That's not comprehensive picture. Again, if we're looking at the effects of diabetes on kidneys, I can give you comprehensive data on that. But this is not. 2.5 times more likely in one study that shows the number of seconds that people hesitate before shooting somebody.
No, 14 times. 14 times more likely for cops to shoot innocent white people by error than black people.
No, it isn't.
14
it's
times.
2.5 times more likely and this is 1,000.
Wait, so you're saying you're admitting that it is more likely, but it's not 14, it's 2.5?
No, it's 14 times more likely for them to kill black people?
No, white people. This study shows white people.
Yeah, so
in a controlled environment.
An outlier study. I will actually say,
I'm willing to accept that this study might be wrong. This seems to be a good study.
Oh,
okay?
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it may be an outlier.
Outlier is okay. First of all, Ali, it cannot be an outlier if there's no other studies that have a controlled environment like this. For something to be an outlier study, you need to show me like, oh, there's actually 50 studies that managed to create a controlled environment like this study, and all of them disagree with the study, and this is the one study that all of a sudden as an outlier. That's the definition of an outlier study. This is not an outlier study because those 50 other studies do not exist. Right now, this is all we have.
Okay. No, this is not all we have. So we have other studies. We've got several studies showing
that not controlled environment studies. Those are just yeah, go ahead.
It doesn't. No, there's studies have been done with Armin. You got to read more. You got to find things that I don't. And you do this with everything else.
Maybe you're right. Show me the studies that have a controlled environment like this.
I'll send them. I'll actually post them over here. I'll post them under the description.
Yeah, okay. No, I would be willing to change my opinion. Here's the difference between you and me. If you show me data that contradicts me, I'm like, oh shit, I was wrong. You're right, Ali. Thank you for correcting me. But I will do that based on data.
Okay, sure. No, we'll do that. And we'll do the whole data thing. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of data in favor of what I'm saying. And that is why this stuff is happening. I mean, all of these people who are talking about this, all of these people who study this stuff, they're not full of shit. I mean, they're not just coming and pulling the stuff out of their ass because they have some sort of political agenda. Okay, that's not why it's happening.
By the way, Narn is saying, Armin, you don't necessarily have to have control for every study. Often that is not possible. I completely agree with that. But if you do have a controlled environment, have a control for a study, then that is better. I'm not saying that every study that doesn't have a control, then you could completely dismiss it. That's not what I'm saying.
A lot of times, when you're looking at things like police bias, or you're looking at internalized racial bias, when you're looking at those things like that at controlled environments, I mean, it's almost impossible. And if you do have a control, it's going to have a lot of limitations. All right. So there you go. And Susanna's put up the link to the study. All right. Now I'm going to talk about something in human terms. Okay. Now you're sitting there, right? You're black. You've been hearing this. You're watching videos online. People are posting. Some guy's someone's trying to take a nap, right, in a dorm. They're a student. They're black. A white woman calls the police on them. A guy is going out bird watching in Central Park. This white woman calls the police on him, saying there's an African American man threatening me, like it happened with Amy Cooper. Calling the police on people like Starbucks, those two guys at Starbucks. There are so many. You're seeing this day after day, week after week. Okay, and every time, especially what you're seeing is that the cops that are killing these unarmed black men are getting away with slaps on the wrist. If there are 4 officers involved, they charge one, give them a few years.
They also get away when the victim is white.
Okay. Now,
The cops also get away with killing innocent people when the victim is white.
Cops get away with a lot. Yes, they do. When the victim is white,
and that's because of the way that the court system works in the United States is that you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that either murder or second-degree manslaughter or something like that happened. But the problem with the police is that because their job requires to assess risk and see if something is risk. I'm not. By the way, right now I'm not defending this. I'm just telling you why it's difficult.
I agree with you.
Hold on. Yeah, okay. But to charge the police is because of the nature of their work, it's very difficult to prove in court that beyond reasonable doubt that their motivations in killing somebody. So, and because it's very difficult, cops get away from killing either by error or on purpose. We don't know, but it's really difficult for the prosecution to get to prove them guilty, whatever the victim's race is. Like right. A lot of people, and here's what happens every time it's a minority or like a black person who was killed, because people don't follow all the cases of police being charged. They only start following it when a black person is killed, and they see it go to court or whatever, or maybe doesn't even go to court. And they're like, because they're not familiar with how the justice system works, they see like, oh my God, the cop got away with it again. But they're always seeing them getting away with killing the black people. And they're like, how could this not be, they're thinking, how could this not be racism? Like they got away with it again. But if they, hold on, I know, but I'm saying this for the sake of
it is racism.
Let me say, hold on. But if they saw the countless other times that they got away with it when the victim was white, less people would think this is racism.
I know. The thing is that they don't see that. They don't see it when the victim's white. And I think there's a good reason they don't see it, because it's not as photogenic. Okay? Now, the thing is, if there was a white cop...
Wait, what do you mean?
I'll tell you, it's not as photogenic, because the way that cops treat white people is different than the way they treat black people. Now, if there was a white cop like this guy, Derek Chauvin, who had his knee on a white man's neck, and he was holding him down, and the white guy was saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And it was for 8 minutes, and it was because of a counterfeit $20 bill. If that was happening to a white man, I can bet you anything people would bring out their cell phone cameras, and they would film it exactly the same way. Hold on, let me finish. They would film it exactly the same way, because it is an outrageous thing. But
because this one was the craziest. This one was the craziest thing. Okay, first
no one can imagine a white cop doing that to a white man.
They can't. The comparison has to be equal. You cannot deny that the countless number of innocent people that have been killed, white people that have been killed by black people, is at all being covered the same way that similar ways that innocent black people have been
of course killed, it's being covered the same way.
Come on!
Every time.
And
hey! Do you watch Fox News?
For you to make your point, you have to come up with an anecdote of such, like, this cop was insane, like the whole 9-minute thing that he had his leg on the guy's neck. The only way you would get a similar outrage from a white person being killed is for the cop to be this level of insane.
Hold on. I just want to get this clear. You're saying that the press never covers when white people are killed by black people?
No. I didn't say it doesn't. No, did I say it never covers? I said it doesn't get covered in the same way and so widespread and so.
Okay, are you talking about?
I say it gets never?
Are you talking about the last 2 years or the last 50 years? Because that's all they've covered. Haven't you seen all those pretty blonde girls? Pretty blonde girls who go on vacation here or there. They've been missing.
It is not. Fine, let's go. I can win this easily, man. Like the reaction.
In my mind, I think I'm winning this already.
Goes on repeat on every goddamn media outlet. If it's a black victim, is astronomically higher than if it's a white victim.
Yes,
and again, that is finally
after decades, Armin. After decades of it being the other way around.
I'm not saying there are not examples of white people dying. And here's another thing: even when it's a white person, I could tell you there will be a bias. If it's if it's a girl being raped by somebody, that will get more coverage than if a white man dying. Like even when it's if it's a child being killed, it's going to get more coverage than if it's a white child, it will get more coverage than an adult. A white adult getting killed. Their bias is all over the place.
Okay? If kids are dying in Syria,
again,
this, a lot less coverage.
This is not because of racism by CNN or these other media outlets. They just the fact that more people right now, there's like a race conflict and people are hating each other for racism in the United States. And of course, this is not like a conspiracy where CNN or these other media outlets want to promote an agenda or anything. They're just responding to profit motives. There's a demand, like race wars. Race wars are profitable, and this is just good. Of course, this will get more attention.
I am telling you that yes, okay, it's not being covered nowadays in the last 2 years the same way. Finally, it's not being covered the same way because in the last 40, 50, 60, 100, 200 years, the way that things have been covered is...
really? You're going to... Of course, 200 years there was a bias against black people. Of course.
Armin,
okay.
It's like the Me Too movement. Okay, where finally, okay, if somebody has been sexually harassed at work and somebody has been sexually assaulted,
you believe collective adjustment. So you're right now wants to be like, because of the history that they went to, now this is justified.
Yes, that's absolutely what I'm fucking saying.
Holding people collectively responsible for the mistreatment by other people is complete.
It's a societal thing. And by the way, this isn't just most white people are on board with this as well. We're not talking about just the sort of the white sort of right-wing people on Twitter. We're talking about most people are accepting of the idea that this police brutality has existed for a very long time. And finally, it is getting the kind of coverage. Finally, it's getting the kind of coverage in the last 5 years that everything else was getting.
The coverage is not accurate. If the coverage is like, 50 years ago, the police were extremely racist towards black people, that would be the right coverage. But if you're saying that about now, that's the wrong coverage. Like, and finally somebody's speaking.
Absolutely.
They're speaking and they're not being accurate. The
data is against you. Okay, you're pulling out except for one thing that you pulled about the little time that it took for them to get killed.
Against me, I thought you said that we cannot trust data. We should go beyond using data. What happened all of a sudden that you respect the data?
If you take that's a total gotcha point. Okay, and I'm not saying that. I'm saying, and by the way, let's go to this. I'm sitting over here and I'm seeing over and over again all of these people, like black people. I cannot imagine. I want to ask everybody this. Like, can you imagine? Why is there no video out there of a white guy with a cop kneeling on his neck, okay, while he's saying, "Mama, mama, I can't breathe. I'm gonna die here," and for 8 minutes? Why is there no video like that? Why is there no video of a white guy sitting in a car with his kid in the back seat saying, "It's okay, I'm gonna reach for my license"?
There's a ton of videos like that never makes it to the news.
No, there isn't. Okay,
there is. Holy shit! Are you serious? There's shit ton of videos of white people being brutally abused by cops, which never makes it to the news. There's shit ton of that.
Okay. So let's highlight those of these white people, and let's see if they're motivated because they were white. Okay.
No, I don't highlight those because I don't give a shit about people's race.
Armin, if there is a video, and please, I absolutely. So Armin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the sort of the black, white, the race studies, and what Armin will do. And Armin is promising this. Armin is promising this, just like you guys saw the Philando Castile video where he was sitting in the car passenger seat. And the cop asks, he's like, "Do you have a license?" Like, look, I don't have a gun. I don't have anything.
Oh, it is exactly the same. He's like, do they have to be saying the exact same words and the
hold on. As well? Armin, you're trying to derail what I'm saying. Don't do it. Don't interrupt me. So, and the guy pulls out, and then while he's trying to give him, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't even reach for anything, and he's shot in front of his kid. Okay, black guy by a cop. Okay.
Well, we need to get
that cop. Even the police department realized that was a problem. And they took him off. These cops, a lot of these cops are getting into shit for acting this way. Okay, and this has been around for very long. This has been around for a very long time, and there are no videos right now. Okay, there's nothing like that something like that happening to a white guy. He's completely innocent.
Okay, Narn is saying Armin and Ali here. You don't even have to wait. Narn is saying, here's a video of a white guy getting shot by the police in Vegas after complying with orders.
Okay,
and he also the link. Here's the link.
We have that. Okay.
Why is this not getting? Why don't we have right now white people in the streets saying like white lives matter? Why did this cop kill these people, innocent people, without even being? Like, why is that not? Let me ask you, can I read you something? Can I read you something?
So you're making the MRA argument, the men's rights advocacy arguments about the whole thing, right? Yes.
Can I read you something? Can I read you something? Can I read you something?
Me something.
Okay. Let me finish this quote, please. Okay. It's a little bit long. Okay.
Okay.
And it's by Martin Luther King. Okay.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King. Hold on.
Okay, but do I get to read a Martin Luther King quote too afterwards?
I know what the quote that you want to read is, and that's the one everybody takes out of context. And
I want to play something.
Okay, yeah, so I'll read the one that you want to read first because I know which one you want to read because everybody misunderstands that quote. Okay, so the one that you want to read says that a riot is a language of the unheard. Okay, everybody quotes that quote by Martin Luther King, and they never actually send you the full clip, right? Because if in the same fucking clip, he was not. That is not a clip of Martin Luther King actually defending riots. In the same clip of him saying that, he called violence impractical and immoral. And here's another full quote by Martin Luther King. He's saying the ultimate weakness of violence is that it is a descending spiral begetting the very thing it seeks to destroy. Instead of diminishing evil, it multiplies it. Through violence, you may murder the liar, but you cannot murder the lie, nor establish the truth. Through violence, you murder the hater, but you do not murder hate. In fact, violence merely increases hate. Returning violence for violence multiplies violence, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Another thing that you go read something I also want to say. Can I say the N-word if I'm reading Martin Luther King?
Yeah, I want to also read a Martin Luther King quote.
Can I say the N-word if I read a Martin Luther King?
Yeah, of course you can. Go for it.
Are you sure we're not going to get kicked out of it?
I the N-word on this podcast because we're referencing it. It's a context.
Okay, I'm reading a Martin Luther King quote, and I'm not saying this is the only reason I'm going to say the N. I don't know. Is this the N-word?
Nobody cares. Steven Pinker said the N-word on our episode. Remember?
Okay, I'm going to read it.
We don't. Yeah.
Martin Luther King said, "If every Negro in United States turns to violence, I will choose to be the one lone voice preaching nonviolence is the wrong way." Okay. So he said, like, so that's what Martin Luther King said. But you can read something.
So let me just do this. Okay.
Jimmy Bangish is here.
I know he's here. I saw that. And he's with you. So, that's good.
Of course, because he's sane.
He loves me more, but he is with you on this.
Right.
You'll confirm that, right? Right, Jimmy? Here we go. Ready? going to start. Martin Luther King Jr. Urban riots must now be recognized as durable social phenomena. They may be deplored, but they are there and they should be understood. Urban riots are a special form of violence. They are not insurrections. The rioters are not seeking to seize territory or to attain control of institutions. They're mainly intended to shock the white community. They are a distorted form of social protest. The looting, which is their principal feature, serves many functions. It enables the most enraged and deprived Negro to take hold of consumer goods with the ease the white man does by using his purse. Often, the Negro does not even want what he takes. He wants the experience of taking. But most of all, alienated from society and knowing that the society cherishes property above people, he is shocking it by abusing property rights.
I completely agree with that.
There are thus elements of emotional catharsis in the violent act. This may explain why most cities in which riots have occurred have not had a repetition, even though the causative conditions remain. It is also noteworthy that the amount of physical harm done to white people other than the police is infinitesimal, and in Detroit, whites and Negroes looted in unity. Okay, and this is kind of happening now too. The whites and Negroes. It's amazing how prescient he was.
So what he's doing, and he's a lot of people confuse explaining with excusing, right? So MLK was always against violence.
Yes.
He explains the violence.
And that's my position. We're all against violence, Armin. I'm against violence too.
But I'm not saying you're doing that. But a lot of people misrepresents MLK's explanation of the violence as an excuse for the violence. And so I don't know why people cannot see the difference between explaining something and excusing something, because he was so clear in almost every time he explains the violence and explains why the riots happened. Almost every time he also clarified that he will stand against them, and he always promotes peaceful means. And if you look at throughout history, you cannot come out with any other conclusion that violence more often did not achieve its goals, and small progress and working with the system and changing the system is what got the most progress. In fact, all the progress that you're seeing in the United States when it comes to black rights, women rights, gay rights, if you look at what actually achieved all of those, the one, like, we do have like outliers, for example, the the Civil War, that's an out, like that was violent. But most of the other rights that we actually, all the progress that the United States and other countries were made was never as a result of riots and violence. In fact, we went a step backwards most of the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that the black people...
I fancy Ali more, I want his babies, but I want them to have Armin's brains.
So I'll say something completely factual. I mean, the riots that black people have done, even throughout the history of the U.S., aren't even a fraction of the looting and the riots and everything that the white people have done to them, right? So, I mean, I think that we can agree that is fact. So, all of the looting that's happening in stores here, for 400 years, there was forced free labor that black people provided. They were stolen from, they were raped, they were murdered, they were lynched systemically, they were illegally discriminated against and enslaved and segregated. So all of this stuff has happened in the past, and it's been, so nothing compares. Whatever these little riots are happening right now, even the violence that is happening that we're all trying to condemn, it doesn't even compare to what black people have been through and what white people have done historically. So, that's...
Are you seriously making the argument?
That's the second part of
that's the sins of the father is now the sins of the son. Now we're gonna collectively hold communities.
Oh no! I'm not saying we're not going to collectively hold communities responsible. We're not going to collectively hold communities responsible, but we're going to recognize the after effects of this. So you get liberated from slavery, you're still segregated. Try to find a job, you can't find a job. You get liberated from segregation, you are still in separate neighborhoods. You try to rise up, you can't rise up. You move into a house and all the property values around you drop. All of these effects are still in place today.
Yeah, none of that is fixed, but none of that is fixed by going out and calling out racist things that are not racist, right?
They are racist. They're overtly racist.
If you are dealing with if you're dealing with like a cyclical crime response to like poverty that is a result of things that happened generations ago, and people today are not rooting for it or wishing for it or promoting it, then you are dealing with maybe racism, with the backlash of racism of people before, but it's not because of racism today. So you could find out what is the problem, address it, see like, okay, how could we help these communities lift themselves up? How could we hold their hands? How could we like create some more opportunities for them? You could address all of that. You could like look into and you could be like, okay, is over policing having a negative reaction, or maybe it's not? What are the socioeconomic conditions that we could address? All of that, I'm okay. Yeah, great.
And none of it's being addressed. That is why the protests are happening.
That was just I'm setting the stage to this point. Going out and holding people today, and telling people today that everything against you, the system is against you, white people are racist, the cops want to kill you, nothing you do matters because unless you topple the system, because how could you even thrive if if racism is oozing out of every brick and is coming out of the ground and is coming out of the sky? So the only way for you to even have a chance is to destroy the system and call out racism even when racism doesn't exist. That is not addressing the problem. That is not. That actually encourages the problem to continue even longer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think that when we talk about violence, I think we disagree on what the violence is. So the last part of the Martin Luther King Jr. quote, and this is just very short.
I will go out to the live chat and see what the questions are too.
Yeah, this is very short. The slums are the handiwork of a vicious system of white society. Negroes live in them, but do not make them any more than a prisoner makes a prison. Okay? Let us say boldly that if the violations of law by the white man in the slums over the years were calculated and compared with the law breaking of a few days of riots, the hardened criminal would be the white man. These are often difficult things to say, but I've come to see more and more that it is necessary to utter the truth in order to deal with the great problems that we face in our society.
And something to take into account is that Martin Luther was dealing with a lot more racism, actual real racism at his time than we are dealing with today, right? So when he's calling out systemic racism against Black people in the system, he's pointing to a thing that is a lot more real than what we have today, okay? Because a lot of that has been fixed.
It's just as real today as it was then. There's a lot less of it. It's called out more. People are accountable, and that's what you have a problem with. You're having a problem with the fact that they're actually highlighting it now.
I never said anywhere that racism against Black people do not exist. Okay, I'm hoping that nobody
Black people. You're saying that doesn't exist.
I don't say that.
You're saying there's no evidence it's happening because of racism.
Holy shit. No. Did I say there's zero racist cops against Black people?
You said that there is no evidence that these things are happening, these police incidents are happening because of racism, but there's a lot of evidence that there's racism against
I didn't say they don't exist. I didn't say there is no racism against Black people.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me tell you two things you said.
What I said is that there's no there is racism against Black people, there is racism against white people, there is racism against Asians, there is racism against Hispanics. You will be able to find all of these examples. All of them are anecdotes. All of them are real. Anecdote doesn't mean they don't happen. Anecdotes means they're real, they happen. But if you're looking at, if you're trying to come up with general biases from one side towards another, which, if that's your claim, if you want to claim like, oh, there are racist Black cops, Black cops racist against Black people, yeah, of course. Who the fuck would deny that? There's also cops that are racist against white people. Nobody would deny that. What the claim that I'm dismissing because there's no evidence is the claim that there's a disproportionate racist systemic racism against Black people within the police force, which that is hasn't been proven.
And that's,
in fact, data shows the opposite. Data shows the opposite. Me saying the data. Okay, fine. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. Hold on, Ali. Even if you're right, holy fuck. Even if you're right and I'm wrong, even if I'm wrong, my claim that saying what I'm not saying is not that there's no. Even if I'm right or even if I'm wrong, my claim is not that there is no racism against Black people by cops. Of course there is. Of course there is. And even if there was one racist cop against Black people, that needs to be addressed. That needs to be fixed. One, even if there was one, okay. But so do the apparent bias against white people. That also needs to be fixed. All of it needs to be fixed. If there's bias against Black people, that needs to be fixed. If there's bias against Hispanic,
I know. This is the kind of thing where this is the whole Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter thing, and this is what drives a lot of people nuts. Is that you're doing the whole thing about when people are saying this Black Lives Matter, because right now we're focusing on all of these things that we're seeing in front of our eyes of videos of white cops treating Black people in a way that white people look at it and they say, "Holy shit, I've never seen that." And why haven't they seen that? Because they're not Black. I have seen personally how Black people are treated through 5 years. Okay, driving with them.
Holy shit! You think I would deny that? I've experienced racism as well.
Hold on. Yeah, I know, but what you're saying is that doesn't. What about all the white people that are going through it? What about all the?
What about? You don't understand how
lives matter argument.
You're accusing me of whataboutism, but
no, but.
Whataboutism works this way. Ignore this, pay attention to this. That's how whataboutism works. If you say no, please pay attention. If you say please pay attention to both, that's not whataboutism. We're going.
That is not the allegation I'm making. That's not the allegation I'm making. I am saying that, look, if you agree with the all lives matter thing, when people are Black lives, they say, okay, well, Black lives matter, we have to talk about this issue. And then you're like, no, but what all lives matter, guys, all lives. It's not just Black lives.
I don't say all lives matter. I don't say that.
No, but you're making the same argument.
I do believe that, but I understand
by the way,
all lives matter quote misses the point. I agree with that. Even,
I'm trying to say that if you agree with that, then just own it. Just own it. Just say that, okay, I'm also concerned about there's Black racism, there's racism against whites, there's racism against Asians, there's racism. Like everybody has this thing. We need to address all of it. So if you have that argument, just own the all lives matter thing. And we're not gonna. I actually don't think I'm not that I'm pretty progressive. Like I think of myself as a progressive lefty sort of.
You know what my problem with the quote "all life matters" is. You know that here's the thing. So the problem with the saying "all lives matter," even if it's true, all lives should matter. The problem with saying that is because if you show,
No, of course, all lives. Technically, it's true. It's also true.
We all agree that matters, but keeps mentioning that. If you show me that, like for example, Jewish people are being targeted in this community, and they're like, "Oh no, we need to go protect Jewish people now because they're being targeted," and then you come and say to me, "What the hell? Why are you focusing on Jewish people? All lives matter." I would be like, "No, you're missing the point. Yeah, all lives matter, but right now the Jewish people are being targeted, and here's the data. It shows that they're being targeted disproportionately compared to other people. So we need to put more effort into protecting them than other people because they're being unfairly targeted, right?" So that's what the whole so don't group me with like the people who misunderstand why saying all lives matter is missing the point, because I understand why that's missing the point.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but I'm just saying that the arguments are like, and there are a lot of things that are factual. Okay, so I will read a quote from Thomas Sowell. This is a much more smaller. It's just one sentence, right? Thomas Sowell, who is a Black conservative professor, right? And he said something that is actually truthful, right? But what it implies is completely. So he said,
but after this, can we get to the live chat and answer some questions? Yeah.
So for example, he said the people made worse off by slavery were those who were enslaved. Their descendants would have been worse off today if born in Africa instead of America. Put differently, the terrible fate of their ancestors benefited them. So slavery was good for the black people of today. This is essentially the point he's making. Now, technically, when you make that argument, it makes sense. Now, the thing is, but how does that affect people? Okay, how does that affect people? You're here, you're like, okay, listen, all the stuff you went through, all the slavery and the abuse and the rape of your ancestors and everything, that was good for you because
they didn't go through slavery. Can we not? You went through slavery. No, you didn't go through slavery. So let's just be clear about that.
Yeah, but there are after effects of it that still exist.
Yeah, I'm not denying the after effects, but don't go extreme as like, oh, you went to slavery. It wasn't you. So just be like, oh, you at least be consistent. Be like, oh, you're going through the after effects, not through the slavery itself.
Yeah, that's nobody thinks that they're a slave right now, Armin. Nobody thinks that. They talk about
you're wrong about that.
No, they talk about the effects of slavery. Okay, there are families.
No, listen, you should listen to.
I have a
slavery right now.
I have a friend in Ohio who has inherited. He's like a multi-millionaire since birth, right? And he's because he inherited from his family. He was in the stock market, and they did it for generations and generations. So there are people who could have been, if you had those kinds of rights for black people, it would have been completely different for them right now. So that's not this idea that
after effects.
Yeah. Okay. The after effects of segregation, of low property values, of all of that. Okay. And you agree that it disproportionately affects black people more.
Yep.
Right?
I'm not denying any of that. There's also every community has its own disproportionate things that are affecting them, and they need to be addressed.
Okay. All right. Let's go to some of the other questions, guys. Sorry, we had to go on to this. I hope it was still interesting. Armin, I wished we could fight more. Yeah. I wish I was I'm not pro looting and I'm not pro the violence, even though I understand it, like Martin Luther King said, right?
I also understand ISIS. That doesn't mean that people have to. You have to be careful. Yeah. Here's what I suggest to you. Okay, when you're explaining the violence, because some people might misuse that as promotion for violence, make sure you're very clear that none of this is justified, or the looting or the rioting. Because sometimes I explain why somebody becomes an ISIS member, for example. By the way, for people like this is not comparable. I'm not saying these rioters are even close in any way to ISIS terrorists. Please, don't be oh my God, Armin is comparing the rioters. No, I'm making an extreme example to be able to compare, but some people will. I'm making an extreme example to make a point. I would even go as far as explaining ISIS ideology, or why somebody would consider joining ISIS. Okay, when I do that, some people are like, wait, what the hell is Armin doing? Armin is explaining why somebody would want to join ISIS. Does that mean he's excusing it? Because people are idiots, but they can't see the difference between explaining something and excusing it. And because idiots exist, the responsible thing to do would be to also follow that up by saying, obviously, I'm not excusing it, blah, blah, blah. Terrorism is bad. Look how brave I am. Killing innocent people is bad. Wow, what a brave position.
But I'm going to say one thing that because I want to disagree with you on something related to violence. So I'll tell you the closest thing I can come to is that...
here comes Ali promoting violence. Go on.
Yeah. So I'm going to promote a little bit of violence. Depending on what you mean by violence. I don't think it's a good thing to burn down people's homes and businesses, and every small businesses is terrible. But that fucking police station that they burned down, I didn't lose any sleep. It's the wrong thing to do. It's illegal, but you know what? This is the police could have.
This is a dog. This is how leftists do dog whistles.
This is not even a dog whistle.
This is kind of like the version of it would be a shame if something bad happens to you. I don't want something to happen. No. I care about your health. But if somebody did something to you, I wouldn't.
Unequivocally, I don't want people to get hurt. But if you're burning down a police station building, especially over there, because this was 100% preventable by the police. They arrested a CNN reporter for no reason, a black CNN reporter, Omar Jimenez. Hold on, let me finish. Omar Jimenez, they arrested him for absolutely no reason. And you know who they hadn't arrested at that point? The guy who committed the murder on the video, the cop. They arrested him after this guy. They arrested him.
No denying, because he was not... Holy shit. Okay. Well, nobody's defending the police. Nobody's defending the police arresting CNN. I don't know why that would be. Nobody's denying that.
I know exactly.
but the cop was gonna get arrested. Okay, everybody know the cop was gonna get arrested. He was not a flight risk. He was not attacked. No, it took very little time for them. He lost he got fired immediately. It took very little time for him to get arrested. Very little time. People are like, oh, it took like TikTok. Like, are you serious?
Even less time for the CNN guy to get arrested. So the guy who did the murder was arrested after
CNN arrest. But anybody that they got. Oh, come on, Ali. This is not comparable. First of all, nobody's defending the CNN arrest, but the people getting.
I'm not talking about that, Armin. You're missing the point.
No, you're missing the point. You're missing the point because if the people who are getting arrested while in the riot, what do you think happens when people are in the riots? People are like, oh, I see you in the riots. I'm going to arrest you tomorrow. Of course, the wrong arrest and the right arrest during a fucking riot is going to be more immediate than a crime that has been reported and the police is going to go arrest the person. Of course, that's going to be more immediate. Bullshit. Again, even
bullshit. What? If you're seeing a CNN reporter and you're saying, okay, I see you doing this stuff. First of all, he was doing nothing. And I'm going to arrest you now. And you see him in the middle of a protest.
This is moving the goalpost because even when the police is doing the right thing, people have to pay attention to complain. Even when the police is like, holy fuck, this is horrible. You don't want me to fire the guy, arrest the guy. People are like, shit,
Armin,
we can't complain. How we do it? Oh, you didn't arrest them the same fucking day. Oh my god, now
you're talking like this because you don't want me to make the point. That's why you're talking about it.
Go make your point.
Because I think that it's going to make. I'm saying, okay, I'm going to now have to repeat this again. Okay, so you're saying that they see the CNN guy, and of course they're going to arrest. They're not going to say we're going to arrest you tomorrow, but they see a guy committing a murder on video, and they don't go out and arrest him immediately the same day. He did it on video. You saw the guy kill another fucking guy on video. Okay, the CNN guy didn't do anything. You see him. If you find a video,
how long did it take?
Armin, it took 4 days. And it took 4 days. And the CNN guy was arrested before that. It took 4 days.
Let me check. How has it even been 4 days since the guy got killed? How long?
Fucking days. They charged him. The charges came quickly right after they arrested him.
What's the name of the cop? I'm going to look this up. I mean, if it took 4 days, here's the thing. Here's what I'm willing to do that you're not willing to do. I'm willing to admit that if it took them 4 days, that is fucking long and stupid.
Look it up now, okay? Because I want you to admit that. Come on.
You know what? I'm going to assume you're right. It took 4 days?
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid. It should have taken 4 days. Right? It should have taken 4 days. Good. See, you know what this is called, Ali? It's called changing your mind when you're presented better information. Maybe you should try it.
I've changed my mind on a lot of. I've changed my mind on a lot of issues when it comes to you, and after talking to you, you know that we've both been that way. So that's a completely different point.
Can we address a freaking live chat, please?
So yeah, the police station burning. Go out and do it. I'm happy. Oh, is that going to get? Oh, we're not YouTube. We're already demonetized. This is a good thing about being demonetized.
No, because you get strikes, and you could get we can't do. If we get even one strike, we can't do live streams anymore.
Okay, guys, don't burn down police stations. But if you do, I'm not going to lose any sleep. As long as there's nobody else in it, no people. Don't burn people down, please.
Don't destroy any private properties that doesn't belong to you. Look, when I burned my Quran, I did burn my own Quran. It was my own private property. I paid for it.
Yeah,
no, you did.
The police station is public. You pay for that. You pay for that fucking police station.
All of it. The people that burn, other taxpayers pay for that. You burn out all their other taxpayers' money. Okay. If the people who burn it down,
burn that Quran, if we split the cost,
burn that other people's property.
You wouldn't have called me. Listen, I really want to burn the Quran.
And the police station, fuck you. You're violent, and you should get arrested. You should go to prison for it.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's do. John Smith is asking, what do you think of the white Sharia meme among the alt-right? What is a white Sharia?
What? I don't know. Again?
What do you think of the white Sharia meme among the alt-right? I
don't know what that is. Let me check it out. That's interesting, actually. White Sharia meme.
And then
which?
I don't
what
know.
Is it? Can explain that to us?
We'll on to the other ones, and then we'll keep going. Okay, so Stony is saying they're alt-right. By the way, I'm only gonna read out questions. Okay, because I know there's a lot of comments and this you did. Okay, so Jim Waxer saying, Armin, what data do you have that most of the people showing up to protest are the people who are looting and rioting? Good question.
Actually, a lot of the protesters, not the rioters, a lot of the black protesters who are protesting are begging the rioters to stop looting and the violence, and people are like, oh, I'm okay, I'm not losing sleep over this the police station burning down. You know who is losing sleep? The black people that live there, that are trying to stop the rioters from the looting and the violence and the burning, right?
Not the police.
So maybe you should take the right. Maybe you should take the side of the black protesters whose their community is being destroyed.
Okay, so I'm going to say that. So by the way, that's not really about the police station. That's about small businesses and people's homes being looted and burned. Like small businesses, mom and pop shops, they're saying that's against the community.
I'm pretty sure burning down the police station is also not in the best interest of the people living there.
There is, well, you know, but they'll build another.
Look, I saw some protesters, some black protesters there, begging the rioters to stop. Some of them were holding hands, defending some of the stores, defending the
and that's absolutely right.
They were defending the cops.
I think the looting of the small businesses and everything. And by the way,
even the big businesses. You don't have to be a small business for people not to like. People are like, oh, don't. Some people are outlining saying, oh, don't loot the small businesses, but Target and Wendy's burn it down because they're $1 billion companies. Who cares?
They did name their store Target, so like, okay, but the point is, you know that's funny. You're fucking laughing right now, but. Okay, so one of the things that I've been seeing is that there is a little bit of there's Antifa, and Antifa is like generally a lot of white people wearing masks and things like that. And then there's Black Lives Matter. And there are people in Black Lives Matter who are very frustrated with Antifa because Antifa is doing a lot of this looting and the violence and everything. And again, this is something that I don't think there's been any direct observations. It is true that the violence is being committed by a minority. The vast majority of the protesters are protesting peacefully. But just
to be clear, some people misunderstand. I am completely in favor of the peaceful protest.
Yes,
most of the progress the United States has seen and many other countries have seen is because even if you are wrong about what you're protesting, the act of protesting is a good practice. Even if you're protesting against something that for something that I don't believe in. I don't just support protesters because it's their right. I go beyond just support. I just go beyond supporting their right. I actually support doing it as well. Like, because some people are like, oh, this is fucked up protest. But I support your rights. No, I don't just support your rights. I actually support the protest as well because the practice of protesting shit is healthy for a society. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever side you're on.
And right? This is
but protests and riots are.
Yeah, and there is this sort of attitude among a lot of people, and I've seen it at least on people with my Twitter thing who think that this is all overblown. They're saying, hey, listen, when it's a few cops, when it's cops doing this and killing black people, they're like, hey, listen, it's just a few bad apples, right? And when it's the protesters and some of them are rioting and a minority of them are doing the rioting and the looting of the small people's homes, they're like, oh, like all of these thugs and all these rioters. I mean, that's there is a bit of a double standard over there too. But yes, most of them are not.
You are encouraging you're
specifically
doing a disservice, Ali, to the protesters. When you say like, I don't lose sleep over the police station being burned, because the police station, even if you care about the protesters, you have to know that all their cause and everything they're fighting for is going to be completely dismissed by the burning of a police station.
You're right. I don't think it's right to burn the police station. So I'll accept that.
Yeah, but you should also lose sleep over it.
I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Come on.
I lose sleep
over it. No, it does not.
Technically, I sleep very well, but I do get upset about it.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. There's certain things, like, it's like if Khamenei got assassinated, I'd be like, that's not good. He's like, he should have died a natural death. But I wouldn't lose sleep over it. It's like I would lose
sleep over Khamenei dying because that will cause a dramatic escalation of polarization. If he was killed in an assassination, I would be like, "Holy fuck! This is gonna start a chaotic situation. It's not gonna lead to progress." But go on.
I think losing sleep might. Oh, anyway, let's move on. Another question. All right, so okay. Lois is asking, "Hi, Lois. How's it going? Hope everything's good." She's saying, "Do you think that the U.S. cops are more trigger happy because they know that so many people have guns?" That's a really good question. I think that
I don't know. We need data.
Yeah, we don't. I don't think we really know, but I know one thing, that whenever somebody pulls out a gun, if they think that they're pulling out a gun, like if someone's reaching for their phone or whatever, or their wallet to show them, then they will always assume it's a gun. I think that factor maybe, I mean, just logically thinking about it, may be more of an issue, more of a factor in the U.S. compared to a lot of other countries, but I don't know. But that's a really good question. And then there was a question about the study, but that Susanna answered. That's fine.
By the way, I do want to give credit to Susanna for helping me with a lot of data research and stuff like that. So thank you, Susanna. Susanna has a lot of experience. I mean, Susanna's actual job requires research. So, and she's been helping me analyzing stuff. So thank you to that.
So Boogie Monster Mom, 11:26 p.m. She's saying, it does appear that crimes committed against Black people are a lot more highlighted than if it happens against another race. That can also give the impression that it happens maybe more than it does. Yes, I think that's true. It does, but this is something that has happened after a very long time. So this is a very recent phenomenon that these crimes against Black people are finally being reported, right? They're finally being covered in a way that they never were before. So it's sort of, and this is why I gave the example of the Me Too movement and all of these women coming out and talking about the sexual harassment that's been happening for decades.
To be fair, all these cameras is also helping the cops who are innocent.
Yes,
the camera is helping us stop police violence, not against just Black victims, against victims in general, right? Against police abuse against victims. So these cameras, the body cams, and also people with their cameras is helping that, but it's also helping the innocent cops. Like there's a lot of accusation against cops are like, oh, this was unprovoked, and then all of a sudden the camera showed like actually you reached for your gun, right? So it's also helping innocent cops.
Yeah, it is, and I agree with that. I agree with that, and I think it's a good thing. It's about time, and hopefully we'll get to some equilibrium at some point, but it will need this kind of.
By the way, you never get to equilibrium by over adjusting. Like some people, like, well, these people did so much bad things, so if we overdo it here, it will make everything equal and better. No, it doesn't. It actually makes the reaction to it even stronger. You know, it's going to keep the pendulum from swinging. Overreaction to previous crimes and responding to violence with violence doesn't actually adjust for anything. You would just make the cycle continue longer.
Well, I disagree with that. I think throughout history, what they've shown is the pendulum does swing. There's overcorrection. It goes back and forth, and then eventually it settles.
Eventually it settles, but not thanks to the people who were overreacting. No, the overreaction usually makes the pendulum swing on the other side even stronger.
It does, and then it comes back.
The stabilization is mostly because of the people that remained calm and tried to make small changes in the system and use protests and use regulations.
I'm not saying that
use like voting and coming up with better Supreme Court judges and better politicians. These are the things, these are the solutions to progress, not burning shit down.
But what I'm saying is I'm not talking about the way it should be. I'm talking about the way it's been in history for pretty much most changes. Every time there have been historical atrocities or any kind of injustice, usually it hasn't been followed by a really perfect, nice correction.
Yep, I agree.
It has usually been followed by an overcorrection, of swinging of the pendulum, and then an equilibrium.
It has been, but that doesn't mean it's because of that.
Well, it could be. It could be. Maybe that's.
Yeah, but we have seen that it hasn't. It's not because of it. Most of the time, the idea of burn the shit down it's all fucked. Most of the time, it has backfired. But anyways, let's go on.
Martin Luther King Jr. had a point in that sense that a lot of times what happens is when you have a lot of injustices and you're saying nicely, you do a protest, nobody hears you. You do an Oscar speech, nobody hears you. You do all of these other different methods, And then eventually what you do is you go out and you really burn shit down, which is a terrible thing to do.
What's a quote? Are you, Martin?
Because
he's always against violence.
No, the quote I read, he was explaining it. So you do that, and then what happens is you shock the people. Everybody is aware that this exists, and then you move on to the conversation. And then the conversation happens. So sometimes you need that shock to get the conversation going. That's all. It's not, doesn't make the shock part right, but that's how a lot of, in fact, most changes have happened.
Explaining something is not excusing it, but go on.
Yeah, that's true. So Zona Rosa Smith is saying, Ali, your racism point of view leads me to understand you believe in segregation. All problems would end, right? Right? Oh, is this Kathy Newman? Are you Kathy Newman? You know the woman who interviewed Jordan Peterson? And she's like, oh, so you're saying. You remember that interview?
I think this person is trolling or joking, because that's not at all your position.
No, well, if she or he does think it is, I mean, it's a very Kathy Newman thing. You assume what I'm saying. Okay, so another question.
By the way, neither of us believe in the stuff, like agrees with Jordan Peterson, but that interview made him look very good.
Yeah, yeah, it did. Ed Cavan is saying, can you imagine if it were a black cop beating up a white guy? And yeah, that's, I think, kind of the point that I was making. I can't imagine that. I also can't imagine a white guy kneeling on another white guy's neck and holding it. There haven't been any videos like
Somebody
that.
Somebody just sent you a video while we were on the live stream.
I saw that. That's a one case that everybody's pointing to with the hotel room lobby, and it was a terrible thing. This guy who was totally complying, and they shot him.
The data shows that it happens more against white people. What are you talking about? Of course, there's an example.
Yeah, but the difference between shooting somebody who's complying and those kinds of things, I've seen a lot of those videos. But holding your knee down on a guy's fucking neck.
This is a very extreme example, and everybody agrees that this was brutal. Again, this is why I don't understand the protest.
Was brutal. Tamir, 10-year-old or 11.
Okay, so you keep moving the goalposts, right? I keep saying it does happen against white people. It's very extreme situations like the extreme situation. Violence does happen against white people, and you're like, no, but it's not like this knee thing. I'm like, yeah, this knee thing is an extreme example. I'm like, oh, okay, but then there's other examples. Okay, those other examples, we do have examples like that, many examples like that against white people.
Oh, yeah,
but if you only want to focus on this not one crazy psychotic cop putting his knee on someone's neck for 5 minutes. If you want to focus on that, yeah, this is a very extreme example of something that everybody that I know is against.
I know they're against because they have never seen it happen to a white suspect. They only see it happen to black suspects.
Ali, you're using an outlier to prove a trend.
No, I'm not. I'm giving you all of these cases that have made the news. All of them. Okay. I want to see a white cop who shot. I want to see a white cop who shot a 10-year-old white.
Careful how you're phrasing it. Say it again, because this.
I can't believe you're telling me to say something again. I want to see the video, a Tamir Rice equivalent of the video where there's a white cop who shoots a 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid because he pulls out a toy gun. Like I can't
believe I have to repeat this because. If you're okay,
I got your point.
Let me answer this. If you want to see the exact fucking scenarios of every single white against black scenario, well, the exact mirror image of those does not exist. Okay, that's a ridiculous thing to ask for. If you're asking,
Armin,
let me answer you. I'm answering you. I'm answering
the wrong thing.
Yeah, I am saying if that's why I'm answering you now. If you're asking for the same level of violence
and cruelty
against white people, okay, by cops, that it definitely exists, okay? And not only we have examples of that, you shouldn't even ask for anecdotes. You should ask me but we do have anecdotes.
Yeah,
we do have videos. We do have examples. But that's not how you. Even though we do have that, that doesn't say anything.
Of course,
you should look at data because
if it does, it would make your point. Because
I'm going to make an argument against my position. Even when I show you the videos of, oh look, there are examples. Look, oh here's one video. Here's another video. Here's another video. even if I could show you the video, which I can, that shouldn't tell you much. You should be like, these are anecdotes. Do you actually have data? And then I would be like, yes, I do have data.
Black men, black women, and even white women. You show me something that's equivalent in intensity. Forget about the exact mirror image in intensity, right? And
but okay, yeah.
No, it's not a movement. That's exactly what I was saying in the first place.
Yeah, no,
it and I can't imagine.
It exists. Okay, go on.
Right. So I agree with you, Ed Caven. Boogie Monster Mom is saying there's a case where a cop beat the absolute shit out of this white woman because she had a cell phone to her ear, but people now don't even remember her name. Yes, I've seen that. Like with women, it's the same kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing that I see. That kind of intensity and cruelty.
That's what you're saying earlier. So watch this video again. But go on.
All right. So okay. So yeah, there you go. Rob New City is saying the problem. This is you highlighted that comment. Okay, cool. I'm looking for another question, people. Another question.
Nara is giving us some examples of what you're looking for, Ali. But
yeah.
I can't.
Jimmy Bangladesh was making your point that there's no dialogue being had about the elevated levels of crime in a minority community leads to increased policing. And thus, well, Armin talked about that, and there's a lot of discussion about that, actually. People have been talking about that specifically.
There's a lot of discussion about everything, but with it's not even comparable to the attention that you must know. You must admit, Ali, that if there is violence against black people, it gets a lot more attention than if it's violence against white people.
And I think that's good. And right now, I think it's about time that happened. And I am completely down with it.
That is not, you don't fix racism with racism on the other side.
No, you fix racism. You can compensate for it. We're talking about we need to fix. The problem is this, right? Armin, when you say, and a lot of these other people say, look, there is this problem, the socioeconomic thing. There is this problem of crime. We have to address this. We have to address this. We have to fix this. We have to fix that. The moment you come up with a solution to it or a way to fix it, like, okay, let's start highlighting this police brutality cases. Like, well, no, don't fix it that way. The moment
what are you talking about? You're not addressing it. You're distracting us from the source of the problem. If you were actually addressing it, I would be like, yeah, good job. Okay,
but the thing is, people will never accept that you're addressing the source of the problem.
You're addressing something that is not the cause of the problem. So if we actually have more, more police violence against white people than black people, what?
It is the cause of it's absolutely the cause of the problem.
We already established. Okay, so you're admitting that if there is violence against black people, that would get more attention than white people. Okay, we also established that right now.
Let me put it differently. No.
More violence against white people. Hold on. Yeah. There's more violence against white people by cops than black people. You can because there's more white people. If you adjust per capita, it's actually more violence against black people, which is true. So you have to adjust also according to the crimes that they commit. If you actually adjust based on the crimes that they commit, then no, there is no disproportional violence against black people. There might be even less, right? Actually, data shows that it is less. The data shows that in a controlled environment, the violence is actually more against white people than it is against black people. So by highlighting the violence against black people by the police, you're not actually addressing the cause of the problem, because we established that this is not the cause of the problem. Again, we know there's unfair environments against black people that exist, but this is not one of them. There are socioeconomic conditions that is making the black people
Armin, we want to
of crime and all of that. But those problems, I'm admitting those problems exist, by highlighting violence against black people more, that is not addressing any problems that is causing you problems. And in fact, you're being actually racist against white people.
Black on black crime isn't covered as much. If there is a white cop, there's a black guy who comes up, pulls out a gun, tries to shoot the cop, and the white cop kills that black guy dead, you'll never see that on the news. You'll never see it on the news because that's not racially motivated. It's clear there's
if a white cop kills a black man?
If a white cop killed a black man, if he was following a black man and the black man pulled out a gun to point at the white cop, which happens a lot, by the way, and none of that gets coverage. It doesn't get coverage. Hold on. Because it's very clear that the cop was doing it for the right reason. But when it happens,
you're coming up with such scenarios that makes it obvious, right? I'm talking
Armin, Armin, for a long time. Let me make my point. My point is that you're talking about, oh, well, white people got killed, and then what about this? And there's no coverage. There's no coverage of that. We're talking about racially motivated crimes against black people. Okay, if one gay guy kills another gay guy, if one gay guy kills another gay guy because the other guy was having an affair with somebody else, nobody gives a fuck about it. It would be a blip in the paper. But if there's somebody who's like, I hate faggots, and they go kill a gay guy, that's gonna get coverage because it's a hate crime. Cops, the stuff that's getting coverage is hate crimes. There's nobody killing white people because they fucking hate white people. That's not anti-white racism.
Can I show you how wrong you're being right now? Can I explain how wrong you're being? You're not comparing. You're not factoring. So if you want to make a comparison that actually makes sense, you have to compare like a black person being killed in a situation by cops in a situation that it could have been race, it could have been like unjust, or it could have been just. Okay, it could have been unjust, it could have been just. We don't know. That would get more attention than another similar situation if a white person was killed. And if you look at the video, it could have been just, it could have been unjust. We don't know. Or hold on, wait. I waited for you. You wait for me. Or if another comparable situation, if a black person gets killed and if it was unjust, it would get a lot more attention than if a white person was killed and if it was unjust. But for you to make your point, the only comparison that you had to make for this for your point to look like it's valid is you came up with a scenario where a black person was killed and it was so obviously just, and you're like, oh, that wouldn't get attention. No fucking shit, that wouldn't get attention because nobody could use that as an argument for racism if it was so obviously just.
You're missing the point.
But the comparison that you have to make is either the ambiguous ones with the ambiguous ones or the unjust ones with the unjust ones.
Yeah. So no, I think you missed my point. My point is this: that the stuff that gets coverage are the things that are racially motivated. That there's very good evidence that they're racially motivated or motivated by hate. And they're not. It's not because they're or because of a certain crime or someone thought that someone's going to shoot him or something.
You're making the point. Oh, the ones that are racially motivated are racially will get more attention. No,
the white people.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about if it's proven that it's racially motivated, well, of course it's going to get more attention. To make a comparison make sense. Sure. Of course. But for the comparison to make sense, you have to look at the ones that is unjust. We don't know if it's racially motivated, but it's unjust. You can see that it's unjust. If you compare the coverage that gets to a white person being killed and it was unjust.
I get your point.
If you compare those two, that would be a fair comparison.
You said that.
In that situation, the black one will definitely get more coverage.
Sure. So yeah, if there are things of say a black person killing a white unarmed innocent man because he hated him because he's white, right? And there's several incidents of that. That would be comparable. That would be comparable because that would be racially motivated. But there's nothing like that.
No.
I'm not going to say there's nothing.
You misunderstand me. You still don't understand me. Let's say the black person was killed.
No, I understand.
We don't know if it was racist or not. Yeah. We don't know why. We can just see if it was unjust. That would get more coverage than if a white person was killed. Let's say both of them were not racially motivated,
and it wasn't clear whether it was just or unjust. I get your point.
The black person will definitely get way more coverage.
Yeah, I know. I think that's splitting hairs a lot more.
That's black privilege.
I think you're overthinking of it. I think it's pretty straightforward. Okay, then there's all of Jimmy Bangash's love letters, and we love you too, Jimmy. Even though you want Armin's brains more than you want mine. But okay.
I'm actually offended because he wants you for your looks more than me, which that doesn't make sense.
It's usually the exact opposit.
Yeah.
Everybody loves their brain, both of our brains.
That does not make sense. Sorry.
Or hates them. Okay. Narn Ann is saying, Ali, with your position clear, do you now think it's justified for Hindus, Buddhists, non-Muslims of the subcontinent in rioting and looting Muslims in India and surrounding areas? Huh? Non-Muslim. Do you think it's justified for Hindus, Buddhists, non-Muslim peoples of the subcontinent in rioting and looting Muslims in India and surrounding areas. After all, they suffered through more than 900 years of
talking about the Hindus are the majority. They're ruling over the Muslims.
oppressions and slavery. Yeah, like I don't know what that means. He's talking about how there were Muslim invasions and people came and there were oppressions.
No, you're rioting against people today for the crimes of their ancestors.
Yeah, that's
we're going to hold Muslims responsible today because centuries ago they were killing us.
Yeah, there was now and yeah, like so I'll give you why when I would think that would be okay, and I totally support this in other Muslim majority countries, is that yes, if you had Muslim rule right now and the Muslim rule was and there was systemic discrimination by a Muslim majority government in India, right, or in the subcontinent overall, and they were disproportionately killing Hindus and minorities and everything like that, then yes, I think that you would have a good reason for civil unrest and civil disobedience. I would completely be with that. But what's happening right now
does not require looting and violence.
Yeah,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just wanting to be clear.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that, and I think that there would be a case for that, for the protest.
Look at the people that have managed to achieve a lot. Like look at Martin Luther King. Look at Gandhi, even though we don't agree with everything he believed in, but Gandhi also achieved a lot. Look at Mandela, like all of these people who achieved all of them. Like look at and a lot of a shit ton of other people who are less known. Most of the great progress that we made in the past century was by people that were against all of this nonsense.
Yeah, and there's that doesn't mean I actually agree with that for the most part. I don't think an issue, but it's not I'm not a complete pacifist. I don't think that we could.
I'm not a pacifist. I don't think like being on the side of protests that are not violent makes you a pacifist.
No, but I think that sometimes violence is necessary to get rid of certain things, like when it comes to violence against Nazis. Violence
by government and justified. Well, first of all, the violence against Nazis, I wish it was because of their human rights crimes by Nazis. It would be more justified. Their intentions was something else, but yeah, if their intention was actually against human rights, yeah, violence will be justified by an elected authority, but not by but usually chaotic mobs, if they're ever successful, which usually they're not successful, okay, but if they ever manage to bring down the system, they're just opening the door for fascists. That's what usually rioters and people that are for crashing the system, they're just creating a chaotic situation, which is perfect for fascists to take power.
Yeah, I think even if there is violence required, if that's needed at some point, then it needs to be something that is targeted. It's well targeted, and it's like, for example, like when I was on Joe Rogan, I defended drone strikes, and Joe Rogan doesn't agree with drone strikes. He thinks that they're wrong, and I made the case for why I think that they were okay. The surgical strikes.
Well, they're okay if they're used properly. Sometimes they're not. I don't think they have been used properly, but I'm not against them in principle if they're used properly. Yeah, I'm not just because I'm not for violence by mobs. Doesn't make me a pacifist. Okay,
I think aside from the very early drone strikes that were done in the 2000s, early 2000s, I think that by and large they were used properly.
Haven't they been like 90% civilian death rate, or is that a lie?
Of course not. The civilian death rate was pretty much down.
I don't know.
It was down to 0 in the last 10 years.
Really? People have been lying to me. I don't know. I'm not.
The Investigative Bureau of Journalism or something, they published a report, but all the figures that they got, where would they get the figures of the death? This is North and South.
I don't know. I'm not claiming anything. I'll
tell you really quick. In North Waziristan, what happens is that the Pakistan government can't go there. The politicians can't go there. No journalists can go there. No UN or independent agency or an NGO can go there. There's absolutely nobody else. So there's Pakistani military planes flying overhead, and then there's the Taliban who are doing their terror on their own people. This is at the time. And the people that are caught in the crossfire, the only surgical way to get through was the drones. And if there were any casualties, all the figures came from the Taliban because there's nobody else.
Send me some information on this because this is another. If you're right, this is another reason why I should stop trusting Kyle Kulinski over anything he says. Kyle Kulinski keeps proving me that he's so wrong about many things.
Kyle Kulinski is a guy that I would be more aligned with than you. So just weird.
But right now you're proving him to be completely.
No, he's totally wrong on this. And actually, this is one thing that I disagree with most leftists on. Even
he's so wrong on Iran as well.
Yeah, I know he's wrong on that. So yeah, drone strikes were a good thing. They weren't a good thing. They were the least bad.
No, you wouldn't agree with Kyle Kulinski. He would be too leftist for you.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah. He's a burn your bus type of guy.
Yeah. Well, no, that would be insane. And burn your bus is like, I don't even know where to come from. Okay, so let's
probably be more in line with David Packman.
Let's do two more questions. Oh man, why does this keep on jumping around? Oh shit, I lost. Do you have one?
No, I lost track.
Yeah, Lois is saying secular jihadist Ali is not wrong. Thank you.
Yeah, Lois is very much on your side on this.
Yes, good.
But Lois, you're not making many points. You're just saying I'm wrong, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Zona Rosa. Oh god, this is Zona Rosa again. Or Kathy Newman is saying that Ali, it's totally weird that you would intellectually believe that white cops wouldn't treat white people viciously. Another Kathy Newman thing. Okay, that's something that I never said. It defies logic. Never
calling Kathy Newman is your new label for strawmans.
Is that what it is? Strawman? Like, so you're saying this, like putting words in your mouth?
It's strawmanning you.
Okay, so I guess that's what it is. I don't know the technicalities of it. So yeah, I wouldn't treat white people. No, that's not what I said. I said that if you have white cops killing other white people, we're talking about racial motivations and hate motivations. Anyway, I'm not going to repeat that. We already went through it. And Izzy is saying how to reduce racism, improve education and economics, but how to improve education and economics, instigate deep philosophical discussions, improve reading in kids, educate prep kids for future job market, etc. Yes, and it would be good, but you would also have to target the things that are preventing a lot of those things from happening.
Race mixing. I mean, I think you can. No, I'm just kidding. No, but yeah. I am in favor of race mixing. This is why a lot of alt-right people hate me. I think race mixing will fix a lot of world's problems.
That's why Canada and the U.S. are so. I mean, they're amazing. The only two countries in the world that are nations of immigrants. Like this idea that people think that there's so much racism in the U.S. This is another sort of non-leftist thing about me is I do think it's the least racist places. I've lived all over the world. I've been all over the world. And I'm telling you, these are the two places that if you live here, you should be blessed. Because when there is racism, and there's a lot less racism, but when there is racism, it is called out. It is called out and protested against by everybody, which is absolutely amazing.
Well, so one thing, actually, here's the problem with racism is that there's two. I think this is just a hypothesis.
What is the problem with racism, Armin?
The problem with racism is that it's biological, I think, because tribalism, unfortunately, is hardwired in our brains, and also being visual animals is also hardwired in our brains. And I think the mix of us being tribal and us being visual, very visual, makes the combination of that makes us put people in tribes based on how they look, and that's what the two combinations of these two features of our brain makes us racist, right? And I think this is another thing that a lot of people think I'm like, this like racist person that is like alt-right and stuff. But one thing that alt-right people hate me saying is that diversity does seem to really, I'm for diversity, encouraging diversity in a community, because I think that really helps with reducing racism. The more you're exposed to people who look different to you, the less likely it is that you see them as different. Yep. That's why I'm against segregation in communities. Like even natural ones need to be broken apart. Like in London, when Muslims have their own corners, I think those are like you can see in Canada Muslims, for example, feel a lot less discrimination than they do in London. That's because they're mixed with the rest of the society, and people don't really see them as different. Another thing that I think a lot of alt-right people hate me for saying is that I do think like having more diverse groups in media, in art, and in children's books and stuff like that also helps. So I'm for those. Those are, but again, all of these is tackling is policies that is tackling the roots of the problem and adjusting things from adjusting the cause of the problem rather than these fucking.
I love what Armin just said, and leave the Susanna question up there because I think it's a great. Can you put the back on because I want to talk about it. But I think what you said is amazing because this is a thing I want to point out is that every time people on the left hear about liberty and free speech nowadays on the far left, they start cringing, and every time people on the right hear about diversity and inclusion, and then they start cringing, and that's just all of those things are important. All of those. They're free speech, free expression, liberty, diversity, inclusion. All of this stuff is what actually make America great again. That's what made America and Canada, these places, into the wonderful places that they are to live. So it's just having to choose between those is ridiculous. Susanna is saying, what do you think of Trump's tweet that Antifa will be designated as a terrorist organization? First of all, I do think that Antifa are terrorists. Right, I think
I should disagree with that because they're all so different from each other. Like,
yeah, but I mean, the tactics in most cases they use this idea that use violent protests as a way to get to change. It's to advance any kind of political purpose is by definition.
Isn't that generalizing them? I mean, isn't that the generalization fallacy? Because you could always look at the actions of some of them and be like, oh, they're all like this. I mean,
I've seen
one chapter to another. They seem to be have completely different strategies from each other. Again, I think they're all lunatics, but not all of them are violent.
Yeah, I know, but there is an underlying theme that if violence is needed, it's perfectly okay. And look. And I said something similar to that before, and that's not what they think. Their threshold is completely different. And I'm going to quote Noam Chomsky. You don't get more left than Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky said, "quote."
Oh, you do. If you think you can't get more left than Noam Chomsky, then you haven't been.
Oh, actually, you're right. Noam Chomsky is probably a centrist now.
Yeah, he is.
Especially after this quote, because he said, "quote Antifa is a gift to the far right." Okay, so. That is so. I don't like Antifa. I think I am a big supporter of Black Lives Matter. Of course, the organization has some assholes in it. So do all the atheist organizations. So do ex-Muslims. We all have assholes. But overall, I support the cause of Black Lives Matter. Antifa, I think it harms Black Lives Matter. It harms liberal causes. It harms what every one of us is trying to do by using all of these factors.
I can't come up with any general claims about either Antifa or Black Lives Matter because they're so different from each other. Like you can see, some people do it under using the Black Lives Matter label to do some really good stuff and seems to be making a lot of progress. And then you can see some other Black Lives Matter people that seem to be freaking insane and using the label for some crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
So right now there is no consistent doctrine for either or philosophy for either Black Lives Matter or Antifa. So I don't think there's any overall judgment that I could come up with for any of them.
So I think that there are themes, so I can come up with judgments, but I'll agree with you that it is decentralized, and that's where. Despite what I think about Antifa, Trump's tweet is bullshit.
We're confusing our audience because people. I mean, this is why people try to look at you as binary. Like, oh, Ali seems to be left and Armin seems to be right, and then all of a sudden I say something that seems to be to the left of you, and then you say something that seems to be right of me, and people are like. I need to be out. Everything needs to be simple. I need to be outraged at this person because
it's a pain in the ass not being tribal. Yeah, but Susanna, I think that despite what I think of Antifa, I think that Trump's tweet is bullshit because Antifa is decentralized. well, you can't designate them a terrorist organization like you can with foreign terrorist organizations and so on. So it's just basically more lip service. It doesn't follow through with anything. The other thing is, when Armin and I until 2015, 2016, every time there was a terrorist attack, we knew that it was probably ISIS or Al Qaeda or some sort of jihadist lone wolf. And since then, since the last 4 or 5 years, every time there's a terrorist attack, we pretty much know that it's a white supremacist attack. And most of those people tend to be, just by coincidence, not acting on behalf of Trump, but they tend to be Trump supporters, Marine Le Pen supporters. He has never talked about, they're also just as decentralized. He's never talked about designating them a terrorist group, even though they have committed demonstrable acts of terrorism, right? The Quebec City, Christchurch in New Zealand, all of these things that have been happening. But he won't do it. So he's obviously, it's hypocritical and it's bullshit. It's just lip service he's paying. But yeah, if you want to talk about whether Antifa engages in terrorism, I agree with Noam Chomsky. I think that they are a gift to the right, far right. So should we wrap it up? Oh, okay. Jim Waxer. Okay, what question did you have on, Armin? Don't just put stuff up on. Like, just if you have it on, read it out.
No, this is a nice comment. It's not a question. You want to read it?
Yeah, username Jack is saying, once again, Armin, Ali, Susanna, and audience too, thanks for this. It's really important to be discussing differing viewpoints on this stuff together, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, and I apologize for us interrupting each other, but this is something that I don't know, I feel really, really strongly about, and I think Armin does too. So that's why they got like
no,
that.
I'm not sorry for interrupting each other. It's fun when you interrupt me, and it makes it more interesting, I think. It's
Did you also like nipple clamps?
What?
And handcuffs? No. I was getting into the S&M music. I like it when you interrupt me. Did you hear that John McWhorter is going to write a book that anti-racism is a new religion? I've read a little bit of John McWhorter, and I don't know.
I think the whole anti-social justice warrior thing is getting a little bit cliche now.
It is, yeah.
I think, I mean, I think we're moving to the part where anti-SJWs are actually now overcorrecting, and I mean, we have been there for a while now. I think that they're now actually promoting racism and homophobia and transphobia. I'm just an anti-SJW. No, you're just a fucking racist.
Don't you feel like ex-Muslims were ahead of all of these motherfuckers for a very long time? They were the intellectual dark web. We're discussing forbidden ideas. It's we've been fucking doing that since 2007. Forbidden ideas. They're talking about SJW this, SJW that. We've been talking about the regressive left for 10 years now. It's these guys are. It's they get by the time they get up to it, it becomes really.
But this fights existed since one caveman decided to tell other people why he should be ruling over them. This is of course,
I know.
There's always some people before other people.
It's people think that we don't understand. It's no, we probably understand a lot more.
I mean, my first activism wasn't even about Islam. My first activism was against Aryan supremacy. So before, a lot of people think I'm a racist right wing person, but my original activism to begin with was against anti-Arab racism among Persians.
Yeah.
So it's funny to me that when people come on to me, I'm like, oh my god, you're like a white supremacist, racist, alt-right person. I'm like, bitch, I was fighting racism before Twitter even existed.
Susanna, you just said wow. What was that in response to?
Yeah, I want to know what that's in response to.
Yeah, anyway. But I think that's pretty much it for most of the questions. There's a couple of questions I'm not Barry is saying Antifa. Oh, Barry Radun, hi, how's it going? Man, this is one guy I do want to meet up with again after this quarantine is over. Antifa is not an organization. How can it be declared a terrorist organization? I agree with you. That's what I was trying to say about Trump.
It's not even an ideology, even if you're not an organization, you could be a terrorist group if you have a consistent ideology.
I think it is. I don't know, from what I know about it, and maybe it's gotten
maybe
more
it will become more
I do
consistent.
think it's there are common elements of an ideology, but it's not a cohesive organization. You're right, Barry. It's not. It's
cohesive enough for me to be able to call it insane, but the violent part is not yet unanimous.
Oh, I think it's the other way around. I think the violence thing is an underlying theme. Yeah, it's just part of it.
No, I met Antifa people that denounce violence.
Oh, okay. Susanna's saying it was in response to the BDSM twist of "I like it when you interrupt me, Daddy Armin." That whole thing. Guys, we've gone really over time on this, and I think for good reason. I'm really glad we had this conversation. I've been trying to talk about it. I wanted to have this conversation with somebody like Armin, so I could just get all the shit out. And I'm glad that it was with Armin, because he always makes me think about things. So,
Beej asked a question that we didn't answer, guys. When you want me, when you say what about the question I asked that we didn't answer, it's going to be hard for us to find it. So it would be better just to post it.
Just post it again. Sushil Rai is saying, why do all you ex-Muslims never talk about harmful beliefs you had when Muslim, but only talk about bad beliefs your families had? Like, did Ali believe?
What are you talking about?
You were in Islamic school?
Why, Sushil? Why do you claim something? Why do you say never just because you haven't heard something? That doesn't mean it never happened. I mean, the main story people keep asking me about is the one that I almost fucking killed myself because of my beliefs. I think almost killing yourself is a very harmful.
Yeah, and Sushil, did Ali believe anti-Semitic beliefs when you were the first chapter of my book has a whole section on what happened when I met the first Jewish person I ever met in my life. Yeah. Okay, who I knew was a Jew in Canada, and I was in my 20s. So just
Especially the better question would be, why do some people make such general, absolute claims without actually exhausting all possible ways to check if something is actually true or not?
That's a lamentation in social media.
Right.
Oh man. Okay. So Beej's question was, would you watch a Chinese documentary about the Uyghurs? The answer is yes. And
I have already.
I haven't seen it, but I will. I know a lot about that.
It makes my blood boil.
Yeah, it's just sometimes it's hard for me to watch.
I don't know. This is the one. Okay, go ahead.
It's tough, and it's a weird thing. I don't like watching things it's like when I'm doing stuff. I did so many autopsies in my life, and I cut into people and cut into kids and all this stuff. And for some reason, that doesn't make me queasy. But when I watch stuff on TV that is like this, it really messes up my day. So I'll probably watch it on a day when I can afford.
We post the name of the documentary as well, because it's not clickable here on StreamYard. Go on. Have you considered interviewing Hossein Abu Bakr?
Okay, Josh Sherwood.
Yeah.
He's Egyptian and was jailed for supporting Israel. He's now in the U.S. and has a book, Minority of One, The Unchaining of an Arab Mind. No, that's... Yeah, hold on. Let me note that down now so I don't forget. This is what Hussein Abu Bakr. Hussein Abu Bakr. Thank you. I will look that up. That should be.
I want to respond to this, KM, because I don't agree with you, KM. Yeah, KM is saying belief in anything specifically Islam is a mental sickness that affects families and societies. It's a tough thing to walk away from. You guys are brave and inspiring. Thank you for calling us brave and inspiring. First of all, I am inspiring, true, but I'm not brave, because the activism I do is from a safe area, so I don't think I'm taking any risks. If I am taking any risks, I am doing it unknowingly, which makes me not brave at all. But I don't think Islam is a mental illness. I think the fact that so many people are believe in it shows that it's not a mental illness. Like and I also think that you shouldn't call something a mental illness unless you're a mental health expert. It's not easy to diagnose people with mental illness. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's fair to call things mental illness. Just because some ideology is wrong doesn't mean believing in it is mental illness. Sorry, I'm putting KM on the spot after he's trying to be nice to us, and I'm like shitting on everything he says. Sorry, KM.
But KM, you do have a little bit. I'll give you this. You do have a little bit of a point that religious belief does have a lot of parallels with mental illness, in the sense that the actual definition of a delusion is a fixed false belief that you can't be talked out of. And in the definition, they make a distinction that this does not apply to religious beliefs or cultural beliefs. So they need to make that distinction, because otherwise it would be indistinguishable from religious beliefs. So yes, so there are parallels for it, and I think a lot of people say it. I personally don't have much of a problem with thinking of it as a collective mental illness, but when everybody's got it, it's not really an illness, right? It's more of a norm. It's weird. It's a hard thing to say. Armin, when are you going to tell us why you're not in Canada for an extended period, and when will you return?
Why would I return? I love it here. It's sunny. Everything is cheap. I have beaches right next to me. Mm-hmm. I have my Canadian passport, so I can stay here as long as I want.
I was having my paneer and bread.
I don't know where that came from.
My favorite.
But why would I come to Canada? It's cold and it's wet. It's either cold or it's wet.
I love it here. Ross Payne is saying, have you considered interviewing Anthony Magnabosco or someone similar? We did. We have. We've done Anthony Magnabosco. I don't know if it's gone public yet. Has it gone public? If you're a patron, if you sign up for the Patreon, you can watch it, but and it will be released public in the next week or two, hopefully. So so we have done a whole episode with him, and it was actually a fantastic episode. So look out for that. If you want to watch it early, go to secularjihadist.com or patreon.com/SJME and become a patron. You can do it for as little as $1 a month. You can cancel it later, whatever it is. Go in and do it, because once we get to 500 patrons, we're going to start translating a lot of the episodes that we've had. Probably not this one or the Q&As, but a lot of the other sort of topical ones. So please, that would help in a lot of ways. And you can see the Anthony Magnabosco episode there. It was really, really good. Okay, so people.
Susanna is saying something very important, but we always forget to say: like the video, subscribe, share the video. Come on, do it right now. If you're not subscribed, subscribe right now. Share this video, please. YouTube is against us. That's why our channel is not growing. So we need your help to share for our channel to grow. Please share it as much as possible. Thank you, Susanna, for reminding us.
KM is saying rationalizing religion is probably the toughest thing I've faced. I'm from India, Brahmin by birth, and married to a Muslim. It's really tough. Yeah, I feel for you, man. Like I agree. It's a really tough thing to do, especially if you're in a relationship where the other person's religious. It can be a really difficult thing. Anyway, so everybody, thank you very much. It's late. We got to run. And I know this Q&A ended up becoming about all of the stuff that's going on with the protests, and I hope that something good comes out of it. I am optimistic that something will. Armin may not be as optimistic, but it's okay.
I don't know.
Y'all can.
Do I hope something good comes out of it? Of course, I hope.
Yeah, no, we both do. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody, and we're going to see you with our next episode, which I think, and I'm going to put it on the schedule, Armin, is going to be about how atheists and ex-Muslims deal with death. So,
that's good.
Yeah, and grief after death of people, loved ones. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
The secular jihadists have been made possible thanks to the Illuminati and the covert support of Israel and the CIA. That's what we have been told, but we haven't received our checks yet. If you like what we do, please support us. Share the podcast with your friends. Write and tweet us with topic and guest suggestions. Or head over to secularjihadist.com and give $1 or more for exclusive access to live video. Have your questions read and answered on the air, and more. Till next time, may the flying spaghetti monster be with you.